Imagine waking up to find your favorite reader has turned into your worst nightmare. We open on a pitch-black room filled with the sound of desperate, ragged gasps for air. Our poor heroine is trapped, her world narrowing down to the cold touch of a tissue as a mysterious woman gently wipes away her tears. "Why do you reject me so much?" the woman asks, her voice dripping with an icy, terrifying calm. She claims she didn't come here to hurt our girls, but simply to ask about the upcoming plot of the novel our nugget is writing. Our girl is absolutely trembling, coughing so hard she can barely draw a breath while clutching at the heavy chains holding her captive. "Please don't kill me, I beg you," she sobs, her eyes wide with pure unadulterated terror. But the mysterious woman just leans in close, her lips almost touching our heroine's ear as she whispers, "Why would I kill you? I'm a huge fan of your book." She looks dead serious, stroking our girl's face with a chilling tenderness that makes your skin crawl. It's only been 48 days since they first met, and back then, our heroine never could have imagined her life would turn into a horror story. We jump back to when things were normal, which for Jiang Wanshu meant being the school's favorite punching bag. Her roommates are little trash, throwing her clothes on the floor and mocking her for being poor. They gossip behind her back, spreading nasty rumors and wondering where a poor girl like her gets the money to live off campus. But trouble always has a way of finding our girl, even when she's just trying to mind her own business. A group of bullies corners her on a park bench, mocking her for having the audacity to exist in their space. They snatch her laptop right out of her hands, laughing as she desperately reaches for it. "Give it back, there's still," she screams, her voice cracking because her entire life's work is on that hard drive. The lead bully just sneers, threatening to smash the precious laptop if our girl doesn't learn her place. Just as things are looking hopeless, a savage voice cuts through the air. "You shouldn't bully others like this." A stunning, elegant woman appears, looking like an icy goddess who just stepped out of a high-fashion magazine. She stares the bullies down, calling their childish tricks meaningless for university students. When the bullies try to snap back, she doesn't even flinch, coolly suggesting that maybe she should just have a word with their instructor instead. The bullies scurry away like the cowards they are, leaving our girl completely starstruck. She's so pretty, Wanshu thinks, unable to take her eyes off her mysterious savior. The woman hands back the laptop, and our little nugget is so flustered she can barely stutter out a "thank you." They end up sitting together, and the stranger asks if she was working on a school essay. "No, it's my novel," Wanshu admits, her face turning a bright shade of red. She reveals she's writing a dark thriller about a brilliant serial killer named Mr. Pasek. The woman, who we learn is a teacher named Ren Pingsheng, listens with an intensity that's almost overwhelming. As she leans in, we catch a glimpse of a peculiar leaf tattoo on her wrist. Ren Pingsheng gets surprisingly close, her presence feeling both like a warm blanket and a sharp knife. She gives our heroine some advice that sounds a little too prophetic in hindsight. "Try and write about the real events that happen around you." She claims it'll make the story more realistic and attract the right kind of readers. Wanshu is completely swooning, totally unaware that she's dancing with a predator. She finally introduces herself as a third-year chemistry student, and Ren Pingsheng gives her a smile that's as beautiful as it is dangerous. As our girl runs off to meet a friend, Ren Pingsheng watches her go with a look that would turn your blood to ice, whispering to the wind, "I finally found you." The crowd is roaring for the big game as the stadium fills up. Backstage in the locker room, when Rujun is glued to her phone, looking more nervous than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Her coach is literally screaming at her to get her head in the game and get out there. "Just a minute," she shouts back, desperate for a reply to her last message. She's been texting her friend Figgy Jiang, who promised to come and watch her play. "Don't you dare flake on me," Figgy teased. Rujun cracks a small smile, finally getting the confirmation she needed. She tucks her phone away in her locker, right next to a small, mysterious gift box she's been hiding. Our girl has a big plan for today: win the game and finally confess her feelings to the girl she cares about. Today is the day she tells her everything. The lights are blinding as she steps onto the court. With the number 8 on her back, she knows all eyes are on her. The whistle blows and the ball is finally in play. Rujun is a total beast on the court, weaving through defenders like they're standing still. "I have to perform well," she thinks, sinking a perfect three-pointer to start the lead. She high-fives her teammates, but her eyes are constantly scanning the bleachers for a specific face. The score is climbing, but the one person she's looking for is nowhere to be found. Why is she still not here? She worries, her focus starting to slip as the pressure mounts. If she can't see her girl in the stands, how is she supposed to find the courage to confess after the buzzer? The game is getting intense and Rujun is starting to sweat bullets. Suddenly, the ball is passed her way and she takes the shot. She looks up and bingo, there she is. Wanshu, her sweet girl with the glasses, has finally made it to the game. Rujun's face lights up like a Christmas tree. She immediately sinks another shot and the crowd goes absolutely wild. Hyun Yang scored again, the announcer screams as the clock finally hits 0. Victory is theirs. Rujun runs straight to the railing to see Wanshu before the team heads back. "Well done," Wanshu cheers, reaching out to her. It was all right, Ryujin says, trying to act cool while high-fiving her through the fence. They agree to meet up and walk home after Ryujin grabs a quick shower to freshen up. But while our girl is heading to the lockers, pigtail-wearing Huang Kaiyan is watching from the shadows, looking absolutely miserable. Ryujin is oblivious, grabbing the necklace she bought as a confession gift. She'll be delighted, she whispers to herself, feeling those pre-confession jitters. As she leaves the locker room, she hears someone getting bullied near the stairs. "You don't even understand basketball, why the hell are you here?" Huang Kaiyan screams at poor Wanshu. Huang Kaiyan is totally losing it, accusing Wanshu of pretending to be a fan just to get close to Ryujin. She even grabs Wanshu's arm, looking ready to get physical. "Huang Kaiyan, what the hell are you doing?" Ryujin shouts, stepping in to save her girl. Huang Kaiyan immediately tries to play the victim, claiming she was just giving Wanshu some tips. "Then why did you push her?" Ryujin demands, her voice cold as ice. She grabs Wanshu's hand and walks away, leaving the bully in the dust. Huang Kaiyan tries one last desperate plea. "Aren't you gonna go with me?" Ryujin doesn't even look back. "Why would I go with you?" She snaps, shutting her down completely. Poor Huang Kaiyan is left crying on the stairs, realizing she never had a chance. Outside, Ryujin is all apologies. "I'm really sorry about what happened just now," she says softly. Wanshu just smiles, but Ryujin is still too shy to give her the necklace. Instead, she chickens out and asks, do you want to get bubble tea?" Classic move, girl. The sun is setting as they enjoy their drinks on the walk home. But the romantic vibe is ruined when a group of thugs blocks the stairs. The leader has a sleazy grin. "Aren't you Jiang Weibo's daughter?" he sneers. He starts harassing Wanshu about her dad's gambling debts, even trying to touch her. Ryujin isn't having it. She slaps his hand away with a loud "let go." The thug is stunned. "Where the hell did you come from, freaking tomboy?" he growls, throwing a punch. Ryujin dodges it like a pro and grabs him right by the throat, squeezing until he turns blue. Her eyes are terrifyingly cold. His friends have to drag him away as they retreat, barking empty threats. Ryujin immediately goes back to being a sweetheart, checking if Wanshu is okay. She even fakes an injury just to get a laugh out of her and lighten the mood. But as they walk away, a mysterious woman with long, dark hair is watching them from the shadows above. Who is she, and what does she want with our couple? The sky decides to have a total meltdown as Ryujin and our girl are walking through the park. She feels a single drop on her face, looking up in confusion. Before the heavens absolutely unleash a downpour, Ryujin doesn't waste a second shouting "run" as he grabs her hand. They sprint through the soaking rain, finally diving into a bus stop to catch their breaths. As they wait for the storm to ease up, the silence between them gets incredibly heavy. Our girl can't stop thinking about those thugs from earlier and finally asks him what that was all about. Ryujin looks away, admitting that his dad owes those people a lot of money, but he insists it has nothing to do with her. He looks her dead in the eye and promises, "If they come to find you again, tell me, I'll help you." Our poor heroine is totally overwhelmed by everything and starts to tear up. "Why am I always so troublesome?" she sobs, feeling like she's just dragging him into her mess. Ryujin isn't having any of that self-pity though. He reaches out and takes her hands in his, telling her she's a genuinely good person and he hates seeing her put herself down. The tension is peaking as he leans in, his heart on his sleeve, and begins to confess, "I will protect you because I lie." But of course, the universe is a hater, and a bus blares its horn right at the climax, completely drowning him out. The moment is officially ruined. When she asks him what he just said, Ryujin totally chickens out, muttering that it was nothing. The rain finally lets up and our girl says her goodbyes, heading off toward her house. Ryujin can only watch her walk away, letting out a massive, frustrated sigh. But hold on, because things just took a turn for the creep-tastic. Hidden in the dark, a literal psycho in a black hoodie has been watching them the whole time, snapping photos with a professional camera. This stalker follows her all the way home, lurking in the rain to take pictures of her through her apartment window. Luckily, a neighborhood dog starts losing its mind, barking at the intruder. Our girl hears the commotion and looks out the window, but the stalker is a pro at hiding in the shadows. She sees the stray dog at the bus stop and wonders why it's so agitated, but she eventually closes the blinds, thinking it's just the weather. She tries to settle in and check the comments on her web novel, hoping for a little ego boost. Instead, she finds a comment that sends a chill straight down her spine. A user named Pasek asks, "When you wrote about killing, did you really want to kill?" Our girl is totally weirded out, wondering how anyone could ask something so morbid. The website starts lagging and the dog outside keeps howling, making her skin crawl. "What's the matter with this dog? Why is it barking?" she whispers, her anxiety hitting an all-time high. Deciding she's had enough creepiness for one night, she decides to just go to bed since she has classes in the morning. But as she turns away, her phone lights up with one final, terrifying message. You heard it. Our girl wakes up to a digital nightmare, staring at a screen filled with cryptic and chilling messages from a user named Pasek. One message in particular sends shivers down her spine. "When you write about killing, do you really want to kill?" Haunted by these dark thoughts, Wanshu finds herself drifting through a haze of flowers and fragments of her own imagination. The next morning, the world is gray and drenched in rain, mirroring the gloom in her heart. Wanshu is absolutely exhausted, yawning her way to campus because she didn't sleep a wink and to make matters worse, forgot to charge her phone. I didn't sleep well last night, she sighs, staring at the black screen of her dead device. Her mind keeps looping back to that comment from Pasek, wondering what kind of person would ask something so disturbing. As she walks past a bus stop, she overhears the local sanitation workers gossiping about a dog that wouldn't stop barking all night near an old man's house. She tries to shake off the eerie vibe, telling herself they're just talking offhand and mean no harm. She finally makes it to the lecture hall, trying to blend into the sea of students. Suddenly, a hand drops onto her shoulder. It's her friend, sporting a playful grin. "Wanshu, what are you thinking of?" he asks, snapping her out of her trance. She nervously laughs it off, immediately begging him for a power bank since her phone is a useless brick. He happily hands it over but then drops a bombshell. "Hey, did you hear? We have a new teacher for this course." Wanshu is stunned. "A new teacher?" she asks, wondering why the sudden change happened mid-semester. Down the hallway, the clicking of high heels echoes against the tile. A woman with long, flowing dark hair approaches the classroom door, looking every bit the professional power player. As the door swings open, the friend whispers, "Ah, she's coming." Wanshu looks up and her heart nearly stops. Her eyes widen behind her glasses in absolute disbelief. "It's oh," she gasps internally. Standing at the front of the room is the very woman she met before, Ren Pingsheng. The friend is clearly impressed, noting how young and pretty the new instructor is. Wanshu, however, is spiraling. "Oh my god, this is a coincidence." She panics, trying to hide her face. Ren stands at the chalkboard, her presence commanding the entire room as she introduces herself. "My name is Ren Pingsheng," she says, writing her name in elegant strokes. Throughout the lecture, Wanshu is a total mess, unable to focus on a single word about dystopian novels. She's convinced the teacher has already recognized her. When class ends, Ren decides to check attendance, but with a twist. "If someone can answer my question, then you may all leave." She starts calling out names, and the tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. But as the list goes on, Wanshu notices something terrifying. Ren skipped her name entirely. "What, my name was skipped?" she thinks, sweating bullets. Ren looks up with a sharp gaze. "Who wasn't called out? Stand up and answer the questions." Our poor heroine slowly stands up, her face burning with embarrassment. Ren doesn't go easy on her, asking her to explain the complex A-wire phenomenon based on the lecture she just gave. Wanshu stammers, her mind a total blank because she was too busy panicking to listen. I'm sorry, I don't know." She finally admits, looking like she wants the floor to swallow her whole. Ren's expression remains cool and unreadable. "It's not good to be distracted in class," she chides. Then comes the dreaded sentence, "Let's take this to my office after class, let's talk there privately." Her friend doesn't help at all, teasing her that she's doomed and the teacher might actually eat her alive. Wanshu trudges to the office, feeling like a criminal walking to the gallows. She enters the room and the atmosphere is heavy. As she approaches, Ren tells her to be careful, but it's too late. Wanshu trips, crashing right into the teacher. The hot water from the tumbler splashes everywhere, soaking Ren's arm and clothes. "It hurts," Ren groans, clutching herself in pain. Wanshu is horrified, realizing she's just scalded her new teacher. "Your hands, it's burned." She cries out, grabbing Ren's hand to inspect the damage. Ren looks pale, leaning back against the furniture as she gasps, "My stomach hurts." Wanshu stares at the growing wet spot on Ren's shirt, completely panicked and wondering how a simple talk turned into a total disaster. "The school doctor seems to be away," our girl notes, looking around the empty infirmary. "Then you can handle it for me, wet compressed down," Miss Ren says with a smile that's way too calm for someone who just got burned. Wanshu's heart is doing backflips as she nervously searches for the scald medicine in the cabinet. She's shaking like a leaf, wondering if she should even be the one doing this. But when she finally finds the bottle and turns around, her jaw hits the floor. Miss Ren has already started undressing, her shirt sliding off her shoulders to reveal the burn on her skin. "Sorry to bother you," she purrs, looking like a total goddess while our girl is having a mental breakdown. She's so distracted she doesn't even realize Miss Ren is watching her every move. Suddenly, the teacher starts dropping some heavy philosophy about Orwellian language and how controlling words is the key to controlling people's thoughts. She leans in dangerously close, asking, "Are you thinking of me?" Wanshu is sweating bullets, stammering that she just didn't expect the new teacher to be her savior from the other night. "Is it a coincidence?" Miss Ren asks, her eyes practically piercing through Wanshu's soul. Our girl gathers what's left of her courage and offers to buy her milk tea after class to say thanks. They exchange WeChat info and Wanshu flees the room before her heart actually explodes. But while our heroine is dealing with a schoolgirl crush, a literal nightmare is unfolding by the coast. Police have cordoned off a gruesome scene where a body was dumped on the rocks. The details are absolutely bone-chilling. The victim's heart was removed and his left hand was hacked off. It looks similar to the previous cases, the officers mutter, realizing they're hunting a serial killer. A reporter named Bai Kai has already snuck onto the scene, snapping photos of the carnage before the cops can chase her away. The police are desperate to keep the modus operandi a secret, but the truth is already leaking out. Back on campus, Wanshu is walking home in a daze. Her classmate tries to intercept her for a walk, but she brushes him off with a quick, "I have something today." He's left standing there totally confused by her sudden rush. Our girl isn't actually busy, though. She's just glued to her phone, desperately waiting for a message from Miss Ren. The peaceful afternoon is shattered when she passes a TV broadcasting a breaking news report. A body found at Yokohama Beach, a particularly cruel murder. Just as the dread starts to sink in, her phone dings with a notification from the class group chat. Some idiot named Wang Jiaming posts a cool photo of the victim that's been circulating online. Wanshu zooms in on the image and her blood turns to ice. "Isn't he?" she gasps, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. The man lying dead on the rocks isn't a stranger. It's the debt collector who was just harassing her for money. Our girl is staring at her screen in total shock, realizing that the man found dead on the beach is the exact same creep who was aggressively collecting debts from her before. She trembles as she looks at the news, her mind racing with the coincidence. "Divide heart," she whispers, reading the disturbing details of the crime. She can't help but wonder just how much hatred someone had to harbor to commit such a deed. Part of her thinks it's a terrible way to die, but another darker part of her mind whispers that he wasn't exactly a saint. He spent his life pestering and oppressing her over a debt that wasn't even hers. As she walks down the street, lost in these heavy thoughts, she feels like the world is closing in on her. Suddenly, a hand drops onto her shoulder, making her jump out of her skin. "Ren, teacher," she gasps, seeing the elegant woman standing behind her. Teacher Ren offers a soft smile, asking, "Sorry, did I scare you?" Wanshu frantically shakes her head, trying to hide her visible distress. To ease the tension, Ren suggests they go grab some milk tea together. Once they're settled in a cozy cafe, Wanshu tries to make small talk, thanking the teacher for helping her with her computer issues the other day. Ren leans in, her eyes sharp as she asks if Wanshu's novel serialization is going well. Wanshu nods, but admits that a specific comment under her latest chapter has been making her feel incredibly uncomfortable. "What comment?" Ren asks, her voice dropping to serious tone. Wanshu looks down and asks, "Teacher, do you also think that the author who wrote the murderer really wanted to try to kill?" She explains that readers are starting to question her own mental state because of how realistically she writes her villains. Ren doesn't blink, instead asking a chilling question, "Have you thought about it?" Wanshu immediately denies it, but her eyes betray her. Ren pushes further, pointing out that if she hasn't had those thoughts, there's no reason to be afraid of what strangers say. Wanshu goes silent, unable to provide an answer. In her mind, the image of the dead debt collector flashes again, along with the dark realization that she once thought he deserved to die for how he bullied her. She realizes she didn't just want to write a story, she wanted to see that specific ending for him. Teacher Ren notices her drifting off and calls her name, asking if she's all right. Wanshu snaps back to reality, apologizing for getting lost in thought. Ren, ever the philosopher, explains that human nature is a contradiction and that any creative work is inevitably a magnifying glass for the author's personality. She reaches across the table, placing a hand over Wanshu's to comfort her. "Don't worry," Ren says softly. "Even if you really thought about it, you are just being honest with yourself." Meanwhile, outside the cafe, a boy named Ru Jun is walking with his friends after a game. He stops dead in his tracks when he spots Wanshu through the window. "Who is that woman?" he wonders, staring at the mysterious teacher Ren sitting across from his girl. He watches them from the shadows, a seed of suspicion planted in his mind. As night fully sets in, Wanshu and Ren finally leave the shop and prepare to head home. Wanshu tells her to be careful on the way, waving goodbye. As she walks away, the teacher's words about the magnifying glass of personality continue to haunt her. She crosses the street, wondering what her true self is really projecting into her writing. Her phone pings with a message from Ru Jun, who is checking to see if she made it home safely. But then he sends a link to a trending news report about the Yokohama Beach death case. Wanshu clicks it, her eyes widening as she reads the latest updates from the autopsy. The report claims the murderer was bold enough to stuff a note inside the victim's mouth. "Stuffed a note?" Wanshu whispers, a chill running down her spine. She walks faster, feeling an eerie sense of familiarity with the details of the crime. Suddenly, the shadows around her seem to turn into reaching hands, and she feels like the characters from her own dark imagination are stalking her through the night. She practically runs the rest of the way home, locking her door against the biting cold. Back at the dorms, a group of students are staying up late, huddled over a phone. "I just found a very interesting crime novel," one of them exclaims, showing it to his friend. They read through a brutal scene where a character named Pasek is pushed to a dead end and decides to kill. The dialogue in the book is chillingly casual, as if the murderer is just talking about what he had for breakfast. The boys watch the scene play out on the screen, seeing Pasek finish his gruesome work and place a note in the victim's mouth. The note in the novel says, "Those who plant the cause must eat the fruit." One of the boys freezes, remembering the news report from earlier that day. "Is it about the same as what happened in the news?" he asks, his voice trembling. They look at the title of the book, Mr. Pasek, and then at the author's name, Parker Wanshu's secret pen name. Our girl is having a peaceful morning, lost in her own little world of flowers and fiction. Her friend tries to snap her out of it, warning her to hurry up before the teacher catches her being late. But Ming is totally glued to her phone while navigating the crowded school hallways. She's actually busy texting Ren teacher, who's praising her writing and asking for more novel recommendations. When her friend asks who's got her so distracted, our girl gets all flustered, stammering out a no, just friends. She literally pushes him away, telling him to go secure a good seat in class while she handles her business. Her friend isn't buying it though. He watches her go, wondering if this has something to do with a mysterious woman from her past. As Ming heads up the stairs, still staring at her screen, a shadow looms over her. She looks up and her heart nearly stops. It's Nai Jiaxuan, the resident mean girl. Nai Jiaxuan, she stammers, but the bully just smirks. I didn't expect to meet you again so early, the bully sneers, cornering our poor heroine against the wall. Nai Jiaxuan isn't just here for a chat. She grabs Ming by the collar, her eyes full of malice. Ugly girl, do you think I won't be able to touch you just because you moved out of the dormitory? She threatens. Ming tries to warn her that the stairs are dangerous, but the bully just laughs. Are you afraid? She mocks before giving Ming a violent shove. Our girl starts tumbling backward, but just before disaster strikes, a pair of strong arms catches her. In the chaos, Ming's glasses fly off and shatter against the cold floor. Shaken, Ming looks up to see her savior. It's none other than Ren teacher, and she looks absolutely livid. The bully's face turns pale as she stammers the teacher's name. Ren teacher doesn't hold back, demanding, don't you know how dangerous it is to do this? As the bully realizes she's messed with the wrong person and bolts down the stairs, Ming is left squinting at the world. Oh, my glasses, she cries out. She crouches down to find them, but the lenses are completely pulverized. It looks like I can't wear them anymore, she sighs, but Ren teacher has a plan. She tells Ming she'll get her a leave of absence from class and personally take her to get a new pair. Gently, Ren teacher takes Ming's hand to lead her down the stairs. Our girl is blushing hard, her heart doing backflips as they walk through the school grounds. Without her sight, Ming's other senses are dialed up to 11, especially the warmth of the teacher's hand in hers. She realizes that for the first time, someone other than her old friend is actually willing to treat her with kindness. Ren teacher notices her silence and asks if she's walking too fast, but then she gets serious. She asks if that bully was the same girl who stole Ming's computer before. Ming sadly admits it is, blaming herself and saying she must be the problem if people always have a prejudice against her. But Ren teacher stops her right there, gently patting her head. This is not your fault, she says firmly. The wrong person is the one attacking you. She looks off into the distance with a cold, determined gaze, promising that karma is coming for those who cause trouble. Those who plant the cause must eat the fruit, she declares, and you just know she's about to handle business. Our girl wakes up in a cold sweat, gasping for air as the remnants of a terrifying vision cling to her mind. What? Why would you do this to me? She whimpers, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. In the depths of her nightmare, she stands confronted by a faceless version of herself, claiming she's done nothing wrong. But standing before her is a figure shrouded in darkness, a twisted, scribbled-out face wearing a predatory crimson smirk. The scene shifts to a cold balcony where the shadows seem to swallow the light. No, you, she stammers, looking down at the dizzying drop below. Suddenly, her fear turns into a sharp, jagged spike of aggression, and she screams, the one that should disappear, it should be you. With a violent shove, she sends the other girl tumbling over the railing. She watches, paralyzed, as a hand reaches out for a salvation that isn't coming. As the victim plummets into the abyss, our heroine's eyes snap open in the real world. It was just a dream, she whispers, trembling as she realizes she's safe in her own bed. It's only 3 in the morning, the dead of night, and the silence of her room feels heavy and suffocating. She wonders why her mind is brewing such violent, pressurized thoughts. Reaching for her glasses, she's reminded of a gentler moment. She remembers the elegant teacher, Ren, personally placing these frames on her face, telling her how well they suited her. Just a nightmare, she tells herself, trying to shake off the image of the fall. I shouldn't think too much. Later that morning at the university, our girl is still on edge, glued to her phone while trying to blend into the scenery. She spots a familiar, graceful figure in the hallway and freezes. It's teacher Ren, looking absolutely ethereal as she walks with her colleagues. Our girl tries to hide behind a wall, debating whether or not to even say hello. But Ren has the eyes of a hawk. She tells her colleagues to go on ahead and turns back with a knowing gaze. Teacher Ren, what a coincidence, she says, though her heart is doing somersaults. Ren leans in close, way too close for a normal teacher-student boundary, sending our girl into a blushing panic. Ren smiles, noting that the new glasses really do look good on her. Emboldened by the attention, our girl confesses the darkness from the night before. I dreamt that I pushed Lai Jiaxuan down from a tall building, she admits, her voice trembling. Ren doesn't look horrified. Instead, she reaches out and gently tucks a strand of hair behind our girl's ear. With a look that's almost too supportive, Ren suggests, you can try to write these feelings into a novel. It might help you relieve the stress. Our girl agrees, unaware that write a murder story is top-tier suspicious advice. Meanwhile, Ru Jun is watching this intimate exchange from the stairs, and he is absolutely not vibing with it. He wonders if Wanshu has been avoiding him just to spend time with a teacher, and the thought makes his heart sting with jealousy. He clenches his fist, deciding that things can't keep going on like this. Jiang Wanshu, he thinks, determined to reclaim her attention. The scene shifts to a busy office where a woman named Bai Kai is being handed her lunch. She's a professional investigator or journalist, and she's currently obsessed with a dark case. She's looking into a suspicious death at Yokohama Beach where the murderer left a bizarre calling card, a note stuffed into the victim's mouth. Bai Kai finds the detail too deliberate, like something out of a twisted drama. She decides she can't just sit and eat while a mystery is afoot. She suspects the seawater would have ruined any paper, but the fact that the police are keeping the content secret has her curiosity peaking. She tells her coworker she has a temporary appointment and rushes out. As she walks, she reviews her notes on the deceased. The victim was a debt collector, and the last person to contact him was a man named Jiang Wu. Bai Kai has hit a dead end with the father, but she's found his only living relative, a daughter named Jiang Wanshu. She looks at a photo of our heroine, noting that she's a student at Huanyang University. Does the case have anything to do with her? She muses, feeling a bit guilty for targeting a mere student. She arrives at the campus, feeling like a bit of a stalker as she hides behind pillars. Suddenly, she spots her target in the courtyard. "Oh my god, isn't it really her?" she whispers, pulling out a high-powered camera to document the meeting. She watches as Wanshu, Ru Jun, and teacher Ren all cross paths. Bai Kai snaps photos of the group, but her lens lingers on teacher Ren. As Ren says her goodbyes to head to a meeting, Bai Kai zooms in on the teacher's departing figure. She frowns at the screen of her camera, her instincts screaming. "That woman, she doesn't look average at all," she mutters. Bai Kai decides she's seen enough for one day and starts to retreat, planning to come back later. But as she walks away, teacher Ren stops in her tracks. Ren slowly turns her head back toward the balcony, a chillingly calm expression on her face, as if she knew exactly who was watching her the entire time. In the middle of the classroom, Ru Jun looks over at our girl with a worried expression. "Wanshu, do you want to go home by yourself today?" He reminds her that things have been getting dangerous lately, and he's not just being overprotective. There's been talk of a brutal murder at Yokohama Beach where the body still hasn't been found. But Wanshu is totally unfazed, brushing it off as a simple vendetta that has nothing to do with mere students. In reality, she's got other things on her mind, specifically a certain teacher. She shoots off a hopeful text, "Teacher, want to go home together?" But the reply is a total buzzkill. "I apologize, Wanshu, I'm a bit busy tonight," the message reads. Our poor heroine stares at her screen in silence, feeling the sting of rejection. Ru Jun catches on immediately, asking if she had an appointment with teacher Ren. Yes, she admits, trying to play it cool. She claims they just have some literary things to discuss, but Ru Jun isn't buying it. "You and the teacher are too close, right?" He points out, his voice dripping with suspicion. Wanshu blinks, wondering if she really is crossing a line. In her head, she remembers how gentle the teacher was, even if she felt impossible to truly reach. Since her plans fell through, Ru Jun jumps at the chance to fill the void. "Then I will accompany you back together." He cheers, practically wagging an invisible tail. He's so excited he starts listing off every restaurant in the city, from Korean food to Vietnamese cuisine. "I recently made some pocket money, I invite you to eat," he says with a massive grin. Wanshu finally gives in with a smile, agreeing to take the bus with him. As they walk through the bustling city streets, Wanshu's mind is still miles away. She keeps checking her phone, wondering what the teacher is up to and if she should send another message. She stops herself, worried that she'll just be a bother. Suddenly, as they pass a filming crew, a woman with tired eyes and a press badge spots them. She locks onto our heroine with an intense gaze. Jiang Wanshu," she calls out, catching them both off guard. Ru Jun immediately goes into guard dog mode, whispering, "Do you know her?" The woman approaches them with a calm, professional air. Wanshu is baffled. "How do you know my name?" she demands. The woman pulls out her credentials, introducing herself as Bai Kai, a reporter for Huanyang Zayabao. She's got questions, and she's not leaving without answers. Wanshu starts sweating, wondering if this is about the debt collector bastard she dealt with before. The reporter suggests they find a place to talk, and soon they're settled in a booth. Bai Kai doesn't waste any time, sliding a gruesome photo of a murder scene across the table. "As far as I know, you seem to be the victim's final target for debt collection," she says, her eyes narrowing. She basically lays it out. Wanshu was the last person to see the guy alive. Ru Jun slams his hands on the table. "Do you mean Wanshu is a suspect?" he yells. He argues that there's no way a girl like her could murder such a strong man. But the reporter isn't looking for a physical match, she's looking at the style. "There are two suspicious points in this case," she explains. "First, the motive, second, the method." She leans in, dropping a bombshell. After the victim died, a note was stuffed in his mouth. This kind of murder is full of literary works. When Shu's heart stops, her mind flashes back to her own writing. Is it related to what I wrote? She thinks, the realization hitting her like a freight train. While Ru-jun tries to argue that the police already called it a vendetta, the reporter just shakes her head. Are you all right, Wanshu? Ru-jun asks, noticing her pale face. She stammers out a yes, but the reporter continues her chilling analysis. She explains that real vendettas are messy and violent, but this murder was filled with meaningless acts that suggest a deeper, more poetic purpose. My instinct tells me that you might be connected with this case, Bai Kai says, sliding her name card over. She tells them to contact her if they remember anything, leaving the two students in a state of shock. As they walk home under the streetlights, Ru-jun tries to comfort her. Don't think so much, reporters, they are all chasers, he says, trying to dismiss the whole thing as a grab for headlines. He tells her she shouldn't struggle with such silly things and asks what her plans are for tomorrow. Wanshu says she wants to go out and walk around, but when Ru-jun offers to go with her, she shuts him down. No thanks, it will be troublesome for you, she says softly. Ru-jun loses it, shouting, how can it bother me? I don't feel annoyed at all. He's practically vibrating with emotion as Wanshu asks what's wrong. He stammers out an apology, admitting that seeing her so close to Master Ren has him feeling a little jealous. He tells her to just treat him as a nerve, someone she can rely on, before telling her to rest up and see her Monday. He sprints away, leaving Wanshu standing there with a weird feeling in her chest. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit room, two guys are hunched over a laptop reading a novel. This author makes me find it quite interesting, one of them muses. They're debating if the author is male or female, noting that the recent chapters feel very feminine. They rate a scene where a student confesses to a teacher, "Teacher, I like you." The guys are totally invested in the drama, laughing about how exciting the teacher-student relationship is. One of them points out that authors often subconsciously project themselves into their work. He points to a specific character in the story named Shu Wan, who is described as limping and covered in scars and bruises. It is very likely that the author has created his own image, he exclaims. He's convinced the author is a female college student writing about a murderous university teacher. He grins at his friend, summing up the story perfectly. This CP match is both bloody and romantic. The morning sun filters through the trees, but the vibe in our girl's apartment is anything but peaceful. As she stands at the sink, mindlessly brushing her teeth, her reflection reveals a girl completely lost in thought. Her mind is racing back to the news report she just saw, a gruesome murder where the victim was found with a note stuffed in his mouth. The reporter calls it a literary-style killing, and our heroine can't help but feel a chill down her spine. She tries to wash the dread away, splashing cold water on her face as she tells herself it's just a coincidence. Such killings are common in movies, she reasons, desperately trying to convince herself that her own low-popularity essays couldn't possibly be the inspiration for a real-life killer. After all, who would even read her work? Suddenly, her phone pings with a notification that sends her heart into her throat. It's a message from Teacher Ren. Our girl is floored that the elegant teacher even remembers her after yesterday. Her eyes go wide as she reads the screen. The school gave the teachers tickets to an art exhibition and Ren wants to go with her. I want to see it with you, the message reads, and our girl's brain practically short-circuits. A date? This is a date, she screams internally, clutching her phone like it's a holy relic. Ren follows up, asking if she's free, and our girl can't type yes fast enough, even throwing in some adorable cat stickers to seal the deal. The realization hits her like a freight train. She's actually going out with her crush. She stares at herself in the mirror, panic setting in as she realizes she has absolutely nothing to wear for such a high-stakes occasion. Fast forward to the meeting time at the subway station, and our girl has gone all out, rocking a skirt for the very first time along with a cute strawberry print cardigan. She's a bundle of nerves, fidgeting and wondering if her outfit looks weird or if the teacher will even like it. To kill time, she checks her phone and gasps. The click rate on her story has suddenly jumped by 2,000. She's baffled by the sudden surge in popularity, wondering if her work got recommended somewhere. The comment section is blowing up with people saying they came here especially to find her book. Before she can investigate further, she spots a figure in the crowd that takes her breath away. Teacher Ren arrives, looking like a total goth queen in an all-black ensemble, complete with a choker and a massive bouquet of vibrant orange poppies. Have you been waiting long? There was a traffic jam, Ren says smoothly. Our girl can barely find her words, staring at the stunning woman in front of her. Ren hands over the flowers as an apology, and our heroine is practically floating. They're beautiful, just like you, teacher, she thinks, completely mesmerized by Ren's intense gaze. Ren leans in, her voice low and teasing as she asks, do you want to take a photo? They pose together, the height difference in Ren's cool aura making our girl feel like she's in a romance manhwa. But as Ren gets closer, our girl's thoughts take a turn. She looks at the beautiful woman beside her and wonders what would happen if they weren't just teacher and student. They arrive at the art exhibition, a sleek modern hall filled with masterpieces. Our girl admits it's her first time at an event like this, and she never expected her companion to be teacher Ren. They stop in front of a particularly grim painting of a man who has clearly been murdered. Ren gazes at the art, claiming it makes her feel peaceful, but our girl can only see the violence on the canvas. Gathering her courage, she decides to broach the subject that's been haunting her. Teacher, what do you think about people who imitate literary works to kill people? She asks, her voice trembling slightly. Ren's expression shifts, her eyes turning cold and analytical. Why do you suddenly ask? She queries. Our girl hesitates, wondering if she should reveal that her own story, the one about her little boy, seems to be the blueprint for the recent Yokohama beach incident. Ren senses her hesitation and gently encourages her to speak. Finally, our girl confesses her fears, mentioning the copycat nature of the recent crimes. Ren doesn't look surprised. I know, she says calmly, before dropping a logic bomb that's supposed to be comforting but feels oddly chilling. The murderer killed people, not you, right? She asks, her eyes locking onto our girl's. Ren then begins a dark, poetic monologue, stating that the killer must be someone who understands art deeply. She argues that by turning a vulgar slaughter into a dramatic trial, the killer makes the act elegant and full of meaning. Talk about a massive red flag. They move on to a reproduction of Bernini's The Death of St. Albertona. As a guide explains how the sculpture was perfectly restored using high-tech scans, Ren turns to our girl with a knowing smirk. She asks if she's familiar with how critics described Bernini's work. Our girl recalls a specific quote, soft as flesh, like a dying person struggling to breathe. Ren's smile widens as she calls the connection a coincidence, but the look in her eyes says otherwise. The moment is interrupted by a catty student who spots them and makes a snide comment about Ren finding a new patron. As the intruder leaves, the guide continues explaining that the statue's face shows the torment of life and death. Ren turns back to our girl, her gaze piercing. What do you think of the sculpture? She asks. Our heroine looks at the tragic stone face and feels a wave of pure horror wash over her. As she watches the other students laugh and walk away, she whispers her honest thought, I feel as if living people are locked inside. The duo arrives at a quiet art gallery, the atmosphere thick with a sophisticated chill. Our girl is practically shaking in her boots because it's her first time at an exhibition, and more importantly, she's actually here with her idol. This is my first time at an art exhibition, she thinks, clutching a bouquet of flowers as she tries to keep her cool. She never dreamed she'd be able to come here with such a stunning, mysterious woman. They stop in front of a piece that looks a bit too familiar for comfort. It's a classic depiction of a gruesome murder scene. The mysterious beauty stares at the canvas, her voice calm and chilling. My heart calms down a lot whenever I admire these artworks, she whispers, her eyes locked onto the morbid image. Our girl looks at the painting of the man bleeding out in the tub and can only think one thing, this is a murder. Wanshu takes a deep breath and decides to test the waters, her voice trembling. She tugs on the woman's sleeve, looking like a lost puppy looking for guidance. What do you think of people imitating literary murders? She stammers. The woman turns her piercing gaze toward her, asking simply, why do you ask? Our girl is sweating bullets now, wondering if she should spill the beans about her secret life as an author. There's no proof the real-life killer read her book, but the coincidence is eating her alive. Sensing her distress, the woman gives her a look that says it's okay to talk. Wanshu finally cracks under the pressure. I think someone is imitating the murders in my novel, she confesses, specifically mentioning the Yokohama beach murder. She wonders if the woman has heard the news, but the beauty doesn't flinch. I have, she replies calmly. She looks back at our girl with those cold, beautiful eyes and offers a strange comfort. The murderer is responsible for the crime, not you, she declares, effectively washing Wanshu's hands of the guilt. Fast forward to a rainy day at the university, and things are going from bad to worse. Wanshu is heading to class, checking her phone to see her novel's reading numbers are skyrocketing. But the joy is short-lived because the comments section is a total dumpster fire. As she walks through the holes, the atmosphere is thick with judgment. People are pointing and whispering behind her back. Isn't that the woman who posted it? They hiss, looking at her like she's gum on the bottom of their shoe. In the middle of class, the gossip reaches a fever pitch. She looks quite upright, but I didn't expect her to be such a person in private. One student snickers. Wanshu checks the school forum and her heart drops into her stomach. Someone posted a photo of her at the gallery and is dragging her name through the mud. The post slanders her, claiming her dad is a deadbeat debtor and she's doing shameful business to get by. Talk about a nightmare. Wanshu can't take the suffocating stares and bolts from the room, only to run right into the mysterious woman from the gallery. Wanshu, class is about to start, the woman notes, but our girl can't even look her in the eye and sprints away in tears. She finds the girl responsible for the post, Zhang Jiakao, standing in the rain. Did you write this post? Wanshu demands, her voice cracking as she shows her the phone. Jiakao just smirks, not even trying to hide her malice. Isn't this post telling the truth? She laughs, enjoying every second of the torment. Wanshu is at her breaking point. Why can't you let me go? She cries, the rain soaking through her clothes. But Jiakao is a straight-up villainess, telling our girl she should just drop out because she's annoying to look at. Wanshu finally snaps and grabs the bully, screaming for her to delete the post. But Jiakao is stronger and shoves our poor girl back with total contempt. Wanshu hits the pavement hard, looking utterly defeated as the lightning crashes above. But wait, back inside, the mysterious beauty is watching the storm from the window. She isn't just an art lover, she's got a full file on Jang Jiakao right in front of her. It looks like our girl might have a very dangerous guardian angel about to settle the score. Damn it, damn Nai Jiakshuan. Our girl screams as she furiously types away on her laptop, her face stained with tears of pure frustration. She's pouring all her bottled-up rage into her writing, cursing the bastard who put her in this position. Bastard! She yells at the empty room, the weight of everything finally breaking her. The tears won't stop as she works through the pain. Suddenly, we flash back to a concerned voice asking, "Why did you get hurt again? Who bullied you?" A man gently holds her bruised hand, but our stubborn heroine tries to brush it off, lying through her teeth. "I'm fine, sir, I just fell," she insists, putting on a brave but shaky smile. He's not buying it for a second, asking her what's really making her so miserable. "Speak out, I will help you," he promises, looking deep into her eyes. Finally, the dam breaks. "It's Nai Jiakshuan," she sobs, finally naming her tormentor. Back in the present, we see what she's been writing, a dark story about a sculptor carving a body with terrifying precision. A notification pings. "The author is great, your new story has been uploaded successfully." Exhausted and broken, our girl collapses onto her bed, her leg wrapped in a heavy bandage. She drifts into an uneasy sleep, her eyes still swollen from all the crying. A sudden knock at the door jolts her awake. She struggles to sit up, clutching her head. "Wait," she calls out, limping toward the door with her bandaged foot dragging behind. She opens it to find her friend Wen Rujun. "Hi Wanshu, I came to see you." He chirps, looking like a literal ray of sunshine. He didn't come empty-handed either, holding up a bag of food. "Thank you, come in and sit down," she says, grateful for the company. Seeing her struggle, Rujun immediately offers a helping hand. But he's also got questions. He mentions he was at the basketball court and saw the drama unfold. "Why didn't you tell me? You just go to Nai Jiakshuan and talked about this kind of thing," he says, clearly hurt that she didn't come to him first. He tells her she absolutely cannot go back to school right now. He's fuming, threatening to go and beat up the bully himself, especially since Nai Jiakshuan is still talking trash about our girl online. "I was so angry that I went to find her," he admits, but Wanshu isn't having it. "I don't want you to participate in this matter," she says firmly. Another knock interrupts them. "Anyone else coming?" Rujun asks, looking suspicious. Wanshu is just as confused, wondering if it's a delivery guy. Rujun goes to check and his face immediately drops. Standing there is their teacher, Ren. "Ren, teacher," Rujun stammers, totally caught off guard. Ren recognizes him from before and asks if he's Wanshu's classmate. Wanshu peeks out from the bedroom and her eyes nearly pop out of her. "What?" she gasps, seeing her teacher in her house. "Teacher, why are you here?" she asks, nervously inviting her in. Wanshu is low-key panicking, wondering how Ren even got her address. Ren calmly explains she heard about the sick leave and got the info from the counselor. She walks over to Wanshu, noticing how flushed her face is. Before our girl can react, Ren reaches out and places a cool hand on her forehead to check for fever. Wanshu is basically short-circuiting at the touch, admitting she feels a little dizzy. Meanwhile, Rujun is standing in the corner with his arms crossed, looking like a jealous boyfriend. Ren ignores the tension and tells Wanshu to rest. Then she turns to Rujun with a challenge. "Classmate, can you cook?" She plans to make a special soup to help Wanshu recover. Rujun knows he can't cook to save his life, but his pride is on the line. "I can't lose to her," he mutters before shouting, "Of course I will." Ren ties her hair back, looking like a pro, and hands him a massive whole fish. Rujun stares at the creature in horror as Ren tells him to handle it. Suddenly, the fish starts flopping. "It's alive, it's alive," Rujun screams, losing his mind. Wanshu can hear the absolute chaos coming from the kitchen. Ren tells him to hold it down, but Rujun is panicking because it's too slippery. "Didn't you say you can cook?" Ren asks, her voice dripping with judgment. Rujun is practically crying now, insisting he can totally do it. Ren finally has enough and steps in, her body pressing against his as she takes the knife. "Hold the fish in your hand," she commands, standing right behind him. Then with a terrifyingly calm look, she slams the cleaver down. Blood splatters everywhere as she brutally preps the fish. Rujun looks like he's about to faint from the sheer violence of it all. Ren looks back at him, a single drop of blood on her cheek. "You should not hesitate to start, otherwise the fish will run away," she says, sounding way too much like a serial killer. Later, Ren brings the soup to Wanshu. "Come," she says softly. Our girl is blushing like crazy as Ren hand feeds her. "Open your mouth," the teacher commands, and Wanshu obediently takes a bite. Poor Rujun is stuck in the background, eating a sad bowl of plain rice. "Good things have been preempted," he mopes. Ren asks if he's a good friend of Wanshu. Wanshu happily confirms it, introducing him as Wen Rujun. Rujun is dying inside. "Am I just your good friend?" he thinks, his heart shattering. Ren decides it's time to head out. Wanshu asks Rujun to stay, but he's too salty to remain. "No need," he snaps, slamming the door on his way out. Ren goes back to feeding Wanshu, but our girl is too embarrassed. "It's okay, teacher, I can eat it myself," she insists. Ren asks if she took her medicine, noting that Wanshu's face is still incredibly red. Ren leans in dangerously close to check her temperature again, and Wanshu's internal volcano finally erupts. It's really not so hot, Ren smiles, clearly enjoying the reaction. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small gray teddy bear. I asked for this safety sign for you. I hope you are doing well, she says gently. Wanshu is touched, clutching the bear to her chest. Thank you, teacher, she beams. The bear sits innocently on her shelf as Wanshu goes to sleep. But as the camera zooms in on the bear's eye, the truth is revealed. There's a hidden lens inside. A red recording light blinks as the teacher watches our girl sleep through a hidden feed. Talk about a plot twist. Our girl watches a video of the sleeping beauty on her phone, a soft smile playing on her lips. The way she fell asleep is so cute, she muses, feeling a pang of regret for not giving her that teddy bear sooner. She whispers a warning to the screen, don't trust others too much, okay? As she walks through the night, she sees her favorite web novel has finally updated. The story describes a dark, noisy bar tucked away in a back alley, a place where college students shouldn't play. In the story, a girl named Lee Jae-xun is drinking with friends, but as the night grows late, she's left all alone. Her friend warns her to get home safely because the black street is dangerous, but Jae-xun just rolls her eyes. She steps out into the light rain, her heels clicking against the pavement, feeling a sudden chill of loneliness. Suddenly, an umbrella appears over her head. She turns to see a handsome man with hair covering his eyes. I want to talk to you, he says calmly. Jae-xun recognizes him as an elective teacher from her university and immediately gets defensive, telling him she's going home. The teacher doesn't budge, telling her to be respectful, but she just sneers, what, you gonna tell the school to expel me? He ignores her attitude and asks a chilling question. Did you participate in the bullying of a classmate named Shu Wan? Jae-xun laughs it off, calling the poor girl ugly and saying she intuitively hates people like that. She even suggests the teacher should join in on the bullying. She thinks she's found a kindred spirit, admitting she hates dirty girls who live alone and try to climb the social ladder. She really deserves it, Jae-xun says, her voice dripping with venom. But the teacher's vibe shifts instantly. Is that so? He asks, his voice turning cold as ice. He realizes he made a massive mistake thinking she was anything like him. Fear finally takes hold of Jae-xun as he stalks toward her. She tries to run, but she trips over a tree root and crashes to the ground. He looms over her with a terrifying smile, a knife glinting in his hand. People like you, he whispers, his eyes wide and manic. She screams for him to stop, but it's too late. He tells her she's nothing like him as he begins his brutal retribution. Our girl reads on as the story describes him neatly snapping her hands and hamstrings, so she can't even call for help. In the dark alley, she's left to fade away as he carries her off in a heavy bag. He takes her to a sculpture classroom, admiring his new masterpiece with sick satisfaction. He laughs wildly, declaring it a work of peerless perfection because the trash who hurt his beloved girl finally got what she deserved. Back in reality, our heroine closes the app thinking this chapter is really good. She's actually in a sculpture room herself, looking at a statue wrapped in cloth. She decides it's time to head home and rest. The next day at school, a student named Ryujin is wandering the halls, hoping to see Wanshu. He finds school so boring without her. He hears a noise and peeks around a corner to see the teacher, a girl cradling a group of stray kittens. She looks so gentle and kind, and Ryujin is touched that she loves small animals. Suddenly, Wanshu appears, still on crutches from her previous accident. Ryujin rushes to her, surprised she's back in class so soon. The teacher looks up, her expression unreadable as she asks if Wanshu's leg is feeling better. Wanshu insists it doesn't hurt at all, playing the part of the perfect, obedient student. They start chatting about an upcoming art exhibition, and the teacher even offers to go with them. The peaceful moment is shattered when two other girls, part of the bullying clique, run up looking for Lee Jae-xun. Have you seen her? She hasn't been to school for days, they cry. Ryujin doesn't hide his disgust, telling them a bastard like her is probably just hanging out at some bar. The bullies are genuinely panicked, realizing Jae-xun's phone is completely dead. Our heroine watches them with a chilling, silent gaze. A flashback reveals the truth, Jae-xun lying broken in the rain while our girl stands over her, calmly confiscating her phone. Back in the present, our girl pulls a small black charm from her pocket, Jae-xun's phone charm. She stares at it with a haunting smile before stuffing it into the mouth of the kitten she's holding. Obedient, she whispers, her true nature hidden behind a mask of grace. Be careful, a voice warns as workers haul massive crates into the art hall. The room is a mess of half-finished sculptures and packing material, but one piece stands out. A worker pauses, staring at a figure that wasn't on the official roster. It's a haunting sculpture of a woman in a hood, her hands pressed together in a desperate prayer as tears stream down her stone face. It isn't on the list, he mutters, but they can't deny the craftsmanship is professional. Fearing they'll upset a teacher by leaving it out, they decide to put it on display anyway. A small note at the base identifies the artist as anonymous with the title, "To a Loved One." As the workers leave the mysterious piece behind, a single fly lands on the statue's arm. Suddenly, a faint cracking sound echoes through the empty hall as a fissure appears right where the insect landed. Outside, students are rushing because the teacher is waiting. Our girl Wanshu is hobbling along on her crutch when her friend complains about why they had to drag the teacher along. But our girl is a woman of her word and insists on being faithful to her promises. They meet up with MS, Ren, who is casually reading a book on philosophy and looking like a total girl boss. Wanshu, she calls out with a smile. She immediately takes our girl's hand, leading her toward the exhibition while the jealous friend can only grumble in the background. They enter the sculpture garden, which is filled with abstract art, but Wanshu's eyes are immediately drawn to that mysterious hooded figure. As she stares into the statue's eyes, her heart begins to race. This statue, she whispers, her breath hitching as a wave of nausea hits her. Why does it feel so familiar? She wonders, sweat beads forming on her forehead. She nearly collapses, clutching her face in distress. MS Ren is right there asking what's wrong with a look of concern. Her friend is totally confused, pointing at the stone figure and asking if a normal statue is really what's making her feel sick. MS Ren helps our girl sit down to rest, but her gaze lingers on the sculpture. This statue represents the sculptor's verdict on the mistakes a woman keeps making over and over again, she explains. It's a very meaningful one. Wanshu listens, feeling even more unsettled as MS Ren praises the message. Meanwhile, the clumsy friend tries to get a closer look and accidentally kicks the base of the sculpture. Sorry, he yelps, but the damage is done. A massive crack spiders across the statue's face. His eyes widen in pure terror as he realizes what's hidden beneath the plaster. This isn't stone, it's blood and raw muscle. He lets out a blood-curdling scream as he falls back. The entire statue shatters, hitting the floor with a sickening thud. Chaos erupts instantly as the students realize a literal dead body just fell out of the art piece. Quick, someone call the police. They scream as the crowd panics. Wanshu is frozen in shock as she looks at the victim's face. She gasps. Our girl's world starts spinning as she realizes the girl who bullied her is actually dead. MS Ren quickly grabs her, whispering, "Let's get out of here," as she shields Wanshu from the gruesome sight. Within minutes, the area is cordoned off with police tape and sirens are blaring across the campus. Wanshu is safe in a room, but her mind is spiraling. She pulls out her phone and looks at the draft of her novel. Her blood runs cold because the hands in prayer, the kneeling position, and the 3 swords in the back are an exact replica of the murder she just wrote. But why did it happen in real life? She trembles, realizing her venting has turned into a reality. It wasn't a coincidence. Someone is reading her work and turning her darkest thoughts into a bloodbath. Who is doing this? She wonders, the realization dawning on her that a serial killer is literally following her every move. MS Ren enters the room and notices our girl is crying. "Why are you crying?" she asks softly, reaching out to her. Before Wanshu can answer, her friend bursts in, looking like he's seen a ghost. "Did you know who it was in the statue? It was Nai Jiaxuan," he shouts. MS Ren gets a call and tells them they need to go to the office together. They head to the principal's office, where the police are already investigating. The principal is trying to defend Wanshu, saying a girl as skinny and weak as her couldn't possibly be a murderer. But the detective isn't convinced, noting the university's dark history. As Wanshu and MS Ren walk through the door, a woman sitting on the couch looks up with a sharp gaze. "So we meet again," she says, making the tension in the room skyrocket. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife, as reporter Beiki locks eyes with the mysterious woman again. Beiki doesn't waste any time, leaning in with a sharp gaze to ask, "Do you two know each other?" But the woman remains perfectly composed, calmly explaining that she's only met Wanshu once before. Our girl Beiki isn't buying the innocent act for a second. Something about this woman's presence feels completely unusual and deeply uncomfortable. Before things can get even more awkward, a school official jumps in to facilitate the introductions. He introduces the reporter as Beiki from the Huanyang Morning Post, here to cover the recent interviews. Then he turns to the elegant woman, introducing her as MS Ren Pingsheng, a substitute Chinese language teacher filling in for someone on maternity leave. MS Ren offers a polite greeting, which Beiki returns with a tight smile. However, the word substitute echoes in Beiki's mind like a warning bell. She realizes that as a sub, this woman isn't even a permanent fixture at the school. As they all take their seats, the atmosphere remains heavy with the presence of the police nearby. While the officers wrap up their official business with MS Ren, everyone else sits in a suffocating silence. Our poor heroine Wanshu looks like she wants to disappear into the upholstery. Seeing her opening, Beiki pounces, asking Wanshu if she can ask a few more questions now that the police are done. "Those 2 victims both had something to do with you. Isn't that too much of a coincidence?" Beiki asks, her voice dripping with suspicion. Wanshu and her friend are visibly shaken by the direct attack. Her friend tries to snap back, but Beiki completely ignores him, doubling down by mentioning she heard Wanshu and the victim, Nai Jiaxuan, were roommates who hated each other. Wanshu looks like she's on the verge of a breakdown. "Is that true?" Beiki demands, smelling blood in the water. The friend finally loses it, screaming, "Are you crazy? What the hell are you doing?" He stands over Beiki, ready to defend Wanshu's honor. But the reporter just smirks, claiming she's just trying to satisfy her curiosity. Wanshu can only clutch her head in distress as her friend tells the reporter to piss off. Suddenly, Ren's voice cuts through the chaos. She looks at Beiki with a chillingly calm expression and asks, "Did I ever say that she was the killer?" The police thank Ren for her cooperation, signaling the end of the formal questioning. Ren walks over to the group, finding Wanshu in tears. The friend immediately points at Beiki, complaining that the reporter won't stop accusing Wanshu. Beiki tries to laugh it off, but Ren isn't having it. She defends Wanshu, pointing out how ridiculous it is to think such a thin girl could move a grown adult's body. Beiki's mind starts racing. What if Wanshu had an accomplice? She stares at Ren, wondering if the teacher is more involved than she lets on. When the school bell finally rings, Ren tells the students to head back to class. As Beiki prepares to leave Ren calls out to her. Turning around, Beiki finds the teacher holding out a scrap of paper. "This is my contact information, Ren says with a cryptic look. She leans in, suggesting that she might be able to help solve some of Beiki's problems. The look in Ren's eyes is enough to send a shiver down anyone's spine. Later that night, Wanshu is a total wreck, huddling under a blanket in the dark. She's staring at her laptop, her mind spiraling as she asks herself how everything went so wrong. She looks at the draft of her novel and freezes. She used a homophone for the victim's name, Nai Jiaxuan. She realizes with horror that the real-life murder matches her fiction perfectly. She clutches her head, wondering if the killer has known who she was from the very beginning. Her phone dings with a notification, and she sees that the views on her novel have absolutely exploded. But the comments are a nightmare. People are calling her a psychopath and a murderer, suggesting the police should arrest the author immediately. "I'm not a murderer," she screams into the empty room. She collapses back onto her bed, sobbing that she wouldn't be able to harm a single person. The internet is convinced she's a monster, and the weight of the accusations is crushing her. The next day, Beiki is back on the hunt at the school, scribbling notes like a woman possessed. She knows the connection between Wanshu and the victims is the key, but she feels like she's missing one vital piece of the puzzle. She's fascinated by the thought-provoking style of the crimes. As she walks through the halls, she's approached by a girl with pigtails who looks like she's got a major attitude. The girl asks if she's the reporter and claims she has some juicy inside information. Beiki thinks the girl is a rude little brat, but she puts on her best professional face and listens. The girl wastes no time trashing Wanshu, claiming that her and the victim's relationship was notoriously bad and that they fought all the time. Beiki's instincts are screaming that she's onto something big. The girl pulls out her phone, showing Beiki social media posts that expose Wanshu's past. Beiki wonders if a nasty post is really enough motive for murder. But the girl insists that the most vicious killers are the best at pretending to be innocent. She claims Wanshu has a cruel heart and complains about how Professor Ren is always protecting her. Beiki's ears perk up at the mention of the teacher. The girl explains that Ren is a new, super popular professor at the school. Beiki flashes back to her encounter with the mysterious woman. Sensing a much bigger scoop involving the perfect teacher, Beiki leans in and asks, "Can you tell me more about this Professor Ren?" A devious smile plays on Beiki's lips. The real story is finally starting to unfold. "Can you tell me more about this Professor Ren you mentioned?" Beiki asks, her eyes sharp as she looks for a lead. But the student, Lin Rujun, just describes an ordinary, albeit incredibly beautiful teacher whose lectures are always overflowing with students. Beiki isn't buying the perfect act and presses further, asking if there's anything strange about her. Rujun explains that the professor's hiring was a bit of a mystery since she didn't even have to interview, simply replacing a teacher who went on a trip. Beiki looks down at her notes, disappointed that there's nothing suspicious to latch onto. Was my intuition too much? She wonders, feeling like she's hit a dead end. But Rujun isn't finished stirring the pot. "If you want to investigate, focus on that weirdo Jiang Wanshu," she demands, claiming the entire university is in a state of panic because of her. She insists that arresting Jiang is the most important thing. Beiki leaves, promising to inform the police. But Rujun is left seething because she feels like the reporter didn't believe her. When her friend tells her to just let it go, Rujun's expression turns dark. She blames Jiang for the fact that a boy named Rujun barely plays basketball anymore and vows that if Jiang isn't a murderer yet, she'll make her become that kind of person. Silent skip, NSFW/suggestive content in panels 1438-1439. Meanwhile, the mysterious Professor Ren is at home, moving through her apartment with a chilling purpose. She enters a room that would make anyone's blood run cold. A wall covered in framed photos of dead victims. She hangs a new frame, admiring the perfect expression of the person in the photo. She's not just a teacher, she's a collector of tragedy. She sits back and begins researching Beiki on her tablet. She's a smart person, she muses, a dangerous smile playing on her lips. Lying back on her couch, she looks at the scars on her wrist, lost in a dark, murderous reverie. In a terrifying vision or memory, she imagines herself over a dying Beiki. "I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you, Reporter Bai," she sneers while holding a bloody blade. Suddenly, Bai Kai bolts upright in bed, gasping for air. Was it a dream? She wonders, the horror of the nightmare feeling all too real. Back at the university, our poor heroine Jiang Wanshu is walking through a crowd, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. She thinks it's best if she takes a few days off to escape the pressure. She feels like everyone is watching her, their judgments manifesting as shadowy figures in her mind. I haven't done a single bad thing, she tells herself, trying to maintain her sanity. She's interrupted when the basketball player Ru Jun calls her name. He asks if she's coming to the game, but Jiang nervously explains she's heading to the counselor's office to ask for a leave of absence. Their conversation is crashed by Ru Jun, the girl with the pink highlights, who shows up with a bouquet of flowers for him. I don't like flowers, he says bluntly, rejecting her gift without a second thought. He even goes as far as to throw the bouquet into the trash right in front of her. When his teammate calls him heartless, he simply states he's already made it clear he doesn't like her. Jiang finally reaches the office, but instead of the counselor, she finds Professor Ren. The professor is acting completely casual, complaining that her favorite novel hasn't updated yet. She praises Jiang's own writing, saying other authors are too boring for her. When Jiang timidly asks for a few days off, the professor becomes incredibly supportive. Jiang is touched by her kindness, thinking she's so much gentler than the interrogative counselor. Don't you want to go out and relax with friends, family, or a lover? The professor asks, her eyes locking onto Jiang's. Jiang looks down, admitting she has no one because of her parents' divorce. The predator sees her opening. What if I keep you company? She asks with a soft smile. She tells Jiang that if she takes a break, then she wouldn't be able to see her anymore. A chilling reminder that our heroine is walking right into the spider's web. Our girl's heart is absolutely hammering against her ribs as she feels the heat of the moment. Her mind is a total blur, screaming MMS, Ren kissed me. After that shock to the system, the two head out for a meal, and Wanshu can barely believe this is actually happening. She's staring at her plate thinking, I didn't think she was for real earlier. She actually took me out for Valentine's Day. Ren is looking as elegant and mysterious as ever, just casually sipping her soup. She flashes a small, soft smile that makes our heroine's stomach do backflips. But Wanshu, being the overthinker she is, starts spiraling into her own insecurities. She looks down at her food and thinks, if it wasn't me, then who would she be with today? Ren checks her watch and breaks the silence, saying, looks like you'll have to eat faster, the movie is going to start soon. Wanshu jumps, apologizing for being distracted, but she can't help but voice her worries. I just think I'm always troubling you, she mumbles, looking away. She goes even further, adding, if it weren't for me, then you would be with someone you like. Talk about a mood killer, girl, Ren doesn't even respond, she just signals the waiter for the check. Wanshu watches her pay, feeling a pit in her stomach, wondering if the silence means Ren actually agrees with her. They walk through the crowded mall in a heavy silence. Wanshu is kicking herself, thinking she shouldn't have said anything so abrupt. Once they get to the theater, Ren shows she's still caring, handing Wanshu a blanket. The air conditioner is going to be very cold, she warns. Wanshu thanks her, but she's still stuck in a loop of confusion. She wonders if this is just a teacher-student thing or if they're actually friends. Or something more. As they settle in to watch Titanic Wanshu's thoughts take a dark, guilt-ridden turn. If she found out that I was the murderer who wrote the novel that caused people to die, then will she leave me too? She worries. The weight of her secrets is too much, and she starts to cry right there in the dark. Ren notices immediately and reaches out to hold her hand. What's wrong? Is the plot too touching? She asks softly. Wanshu just nods through her tears. Ren looks at the screen and sighs. Life is always so unfair. Those two were clearly destined to be together by fate, yet in the end, they did not end up together. Wanshu agrees that things like that happen a lot, but Ren has a different outlook. She looks Wanshu dead in the eye and says, rather than accept fate, I prefer to make my own path in life instead. She then leans in close, asking, what do you think? Wanshu is a sobbing mess at this point, but Ren isn't finished with the drama. She lifts our girl's chin, mirroring the romance on the silver screen. While the characters on screen share a tragic farewell, these two share a deep, lingering kiss in the theater. But even in the moment, Ren's inner thoughts are chilling as she muses about the pain of being with someone you can't be with. Meanwhile, over at a newspaper office, Senior Bai is burning the midnight oil on a report. She's obsessing over the stone statue murder case, and her colleague notices how late it is. Bai is convinced this case is linked to a previous body dumping case in Yokohama. She's desperate for a scoop that will catch the killer and boost the paper's popularity. Her colleague shows her a post from their old university's literary club about a novel called Mr. Paysake. The post points out that while the writing isn't great, the murder scenes in the book perfectly match the recent real-life cases. Bai stares at the screen, her mind racing. Could this be the truth? She wonders, realizing the author might be the killer they're looking for. Back with our main couple, the movie is over and they're walking through the night. Wanshu is blushing, thinking the atmosphere is awkward and wondering if she should hold hands. She's about to reach out when Ren beats her to it, firmly grasping her hand. Ren then drops a total bombshell. Do you want to stay at my house tonight? Wanshu's brain basically short-circuits as she stammers out a may I. They arrive at Ms. Ren's place, and as the lights flick on, Wanshu notices something odd. Inside a glass display case sits a leather dog collar and chain. Wanshu nervously asks if she keeps pets in Ms. Ren nonchalantly replies, "Yeah, I had a dog before." She then guides Wanshu further into the house, telling her to quit standing around. Ms. Ren announces she's going to take a shower first, leaving Wanshu alone in the living room. Our heroine is a ball of pure anxiety, rolling around on the sofa in chibai mode. "Tea tonight, are we sleeping together?" she frets. Suddenly, Ms. Ren calls out from the bathroom, "Wanshu, could you help get me the towel? It's on the sofa." Wanshu grabs it and heads to the door, calling out to her. But before she can react, a hand reaches out from the steam and yanks her inside. Wanshu is shocked as she finds herself pulled right into the spray. Ms. Ren looks at her with those heavy, intense eyes and says, "Your clothes are all wet, let's wash together." Our girl is definitely in over her head now. Our girl is in a total trance after what just went down. Her face is beet red and her brain is basically short-circuiting as she sits there dazed. Ms. Ren stands before her looking as elegant and unbothered as ever. "Does my underwear fit you properly?" she asks with a playful tilt of her head. Wanshu can barely squeak out a yes while trying not to explode from sheer embarrassment. The atmosphere is thick enough to cut with a knife as Ms. Ren leans in closer. "Tonight, are we sleeping together?" Wanshu stammers, her heart doing absolute backflips. Ms. Ren doesn't bother with words, she just pulls Wanshu into a sudden, breathless embrace. They fall back onto the bed, the rest of the world completely melting away. Wanshu lets out a soft moan as the tension reaches its breaking point. "What do you not want to?" Ms. Ren whispers, her eyes locking onto Wanshu's soul. Our heroine looks up, tears of overwhelming emotion pricking her eyes as she calls out to her teacher. She's hunting for an interview with the creator of the hit crime novel, Mr. Pasek. She leans against a window, looking like the definition of a persistent investigator. "I want to do an interview with this author," she demands into the phone. She waits impatiently for the details, ready to jot down the scoop of a lifetime. But when she finally writes down the name Jiang Wanshu on her notepad, she freezes in total shock. Back at school, Wanshu is a million miles away during her lecture. She stares at her reflection in the window, her mind racing. "Am I already Ms. Ren's girlfriend?" she wonders. Wanshu tries to focus on her notes, but she's drowning in anxiety. The only thing the teacher ever said was that being with Wanshu was like being with someone you can't be with. As class is dismissed, Wanshu wonders if she should just be brave and ask what their relationship actually is. But what if the answer makes things even more awkward? Suddenly, a voice calls her name. It's Bai Kai, leaning against the wall with a knowing smirk. Wanshu is immediately on edge as the reporter suggests they go somewhere a bit more private. Wanshu tries to play it cool, retreating a step. "What is it? Just say what you need to say here," she insists. Bai Kai doesn't beat around the bush. "Do you write novels?" she asks point blank. Wanshu's heart drops into her stomach. The reporter pulls out her phone, showing the digital cover of Wanshu's secret novel. Wanshu looks like she's seen a ghost. Oh no, the secret is out and our girl is panicked. They move to a cafe to talk properly. Bai Kai leans in, her eyes sharp. "Why don't we talk about your novel?" she suggests. She mentions that Wanshu seems to know a little too much about the plot. Wanshu is sweating bullets, her hands shaking as she tries to find words. Bai Kai tries to calm her down, suggesting they find a place to sit and really talk it out. This isn't a conversation that can be finished in just 2 sentences. Over coffee, Bai Kai admits she finished reading the whole novel overnight. She says the content is imaginative, but the style feels eerily real. It's as if the protagonist in the novel is the author himself, she notes, watching Wanshu's reaction. "That's the breaking point. I didn't kill anyone," Wanshu screams, nearly jumping out of her seat. Bai Kai tells her to relax, she never said anything about murder. Tears stream down Wanshu's face as she admits she doesn't know why her fictional plot became reality. She only wrote the novel to release her inner depression and pain. Bai Kai softens, telling Wanshu she actually believes her. She claims she's been on Wanshu's side since they first met. But then she drops a bombshell. "The murderer must be someone who has a close relationship with you." Wanshu realizes the terrifying truth. The killer knew her thoughts, her heart, and her deepest secrets. She admits she was so angry that she wrote the victim into her book, never expecting it to actually happen. "I think I'm a sinner," she cries out, burying her face in her hands. She never told anyone she hated the victim, Nia Jiaxuan. She feels like she's responsible for the death. Bai Kai grabs her hand, trying to ground her. She tells Wanshu that any lunatic can imitate a book, but that doesn't make the author the criminal. She encourages Wanshu not to use the murderer's fault to punish herself. Bai Kai gets down to business. "Is there anyone suspicious around you?" she asks. Wanshu thinks for a moment but says it seems like there's no one. Bai Kai tells her not to answer in such a hurry and to really take a look at the people in her life. Little do they know they aren't alone, just a few tables away. A familiar figure is sitting quietly. It's Ms. Ren, wearing an earbud and listening to every single word of their confession. She sits there calmly reading a medical anatomy book, her expression unreadable as she hears the reporter ask about the suspicious person. Does Wanshu really not know who it is, or is she just faking it? While the basketball game rages on in the background, our girl Wanshu is stuck in her own head, looking like she's carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. She's paralyzed by the thought that even the reporters have found out about her novel, and things are spiraling out of control way too fast. Suddenly, a friendly face appears at the fence. It's her classmate, and he's practically begging her to walk home and grab a bite with him once his game's over. Our heroine gives him a small, supportive cheer, trying to keep up appearances. But the moment he walks away, the atmosphere turns ice cold as a hand drops onto her shoulder. Enter Huang Kaiyan, the resident mean girl who wastes no time dripping venom into Wanshu's ear. Yo, Tilda, isn't this the murderer? She sneers. Wanshu freezes, her heart dropping into her stomach as she looks up at her tormentor. It's you, she gasps, standing up to face the girl. Huang Kaiyan doesn't even flinch, admitting it with a smug grin as she asks what a murderer is doing just wandering around freely. Wanshu's voice trembles as she asks who she's calling a murderer. But Huang Kaiyan is relentless. Other than you, who else would be fitting of that name? She mocks, informing our girl that the entire school is gossiping about her connection to Nai Jiaxun's death. Wanshu tries to protest, insisting it has nothing to do with her. But Huang Kaiyan just laughs in her face. She calls Wanshu a piece of scum pretending to be a good little girl, claiming the victim saw right through her lies. She even goes as far as to suggest Wanshu encase the girl in plaster just to shut her up. As Wanshu tries to flee the verbal assault, Huang Kaiyan grabs her arm with a death grip. You have to answer for her death sooner or later, she screams. Then she bellows, you murderer, at the top of her lungs, making sure everyone in the gym hears it. The entire room goes silent as heads turn. Wanshu's friend looks over, completely bewildered by the scene. Our poor girl is sweating and hyperventilating, barely able to whisper a denial. She begs to be let go, but Huang Kaiyan is enjoying the spectacle way too much. Suddenly, a basketball comes flying in, bam, hitting Huang Kaiyan and breaking her grip. The basketball player from before rushes over, demanding to know what's going on. He calls Huang Kaiyan out for jumping to conclusions without a shred of evidence. Huang Kaiyan's eyes well up with tears of frustration, asking him why he always protects Wanshu and why he never looks at her instead. He doesn't hold back, telling her that Wanshu has a kind heart and is better than her in every single way. He starts to call her a brute, but before he can finish, Huang Kaiyan lets out all her rage in one massive slap that echoes through the court. The scene shifts to a much quieter but far more sinister setting. We see a notebook filled with a complex web of names, Wanshu, the victim, and the suspects. The observer notes that Ms. Ren, the teacher, is a little too good at hiding her emotions. She seems far too calm for someone whose student was just murdered, almost like she expected the tragedy to happen. Ren picks up her phone and makes a call. On the other end, reporter Bai answers. They arrange to meet for a quick drink, but if you look at the wall behind the reporter, you'll see a literal gallery of horror, photos of victims and crime scenes. This woman is definitely not your average journalist. She wonders if it would be rude to show up empty-handed. So she opens a drawer overflowing with tactical knives and picks out a gift for the evening. Later that night at a restaurant, Ren is waiting, noting that the reporter is an hour late. Finally, reporter Bai arrives, looking effortlessly cool and dangerous in all black. She apologizes for the delay, claiming she was busy picking out a present. Ren thanks her, but she's not there for small talk. She wants to get straight to the point. She asks for the reporter's opinion on the stone statue murder case. Ren explains that she doesn't believe Wanshu is capable of killing anyone, suggesting that perhaps an obsessed admirer did the deed to protect the girl. Reporter Bai listens intently, then flips the script, asking Ren how much she actually understands about killers. Bai explains that in her experience, murderers are often solipsists, people who want to destroy the world simply because it doesn't fit their vision. She looks Ren dead in the eye and asks if she's ever had the thought, if this evil bastard disappeared, everything would be better. This hits a nerve, triggering a dark flashback for Ren of her father being abusive toward her mother. Ren admits she's had the thought, but insists that taking a life is a heinous crime regardless of the person. She grows intense, declaring that no one has the authority to decide who lives or dies. Bai just smiles, noting Ren's strong sense of justice. To break the tension, she nudges the gift toward her, telling her to open it up. Ren is visibly hesitant, her hands shaking as she reaches for the box. She finally pulls the string, but the moment she sees what's inside, she lets out a horrified gasp. What kind of gift did this psycho reporter actually bring? Our girl Wanshu is absolutely stunned as she stares down at the gift she just received. It's a lipstick, a present from the mysterious woman who seems to be taking an unsettling interest in her. This one will better suit your temperament, the woman says smoothly, making Wanshu's heart skip a beat. Honestly, this lady is as beautiful as she is terrifying, and Wanshu can't even find the words to respond. Just as things are getting intense, the woman checks her phone and decides she's done here, leaving Wanshu with a cryptic warning that a certain reporter is closing in on the truth. She leaves Wanshu trembling at the table, wondering what kind of game is actually being played. Later, Rujun is brooding over his own scars when Wanshu finds him. She's still feeling guilty about the trouble he got into for her, but he brushes it off like a total champ. Their mood quickly shifts when Wanshu checks her phone and realizes the scholarship results are out. They rush over to the bulletin board, pushing through the crowd to see the rankings. Wanshu's eyes light up when she sees her name. She's ranked 10th. Rujun is super proud of her, but they don't realize they're being watched from the shadows. The local mean girl, Huang Kaiyan, is absolutely fuming from the sidelines. Let's see how long that expression will last, she mutters, looking like she's ready to commit a felony. During class, Wanshu heads to the restroom, unaware that she's being stalked. As soon as she's in a stall, the door is kicked open with a massive bam. Wanshu is cornered by Huang Kaiyan and her group of jealous cronies. Huang Kaiyan is straight up unhinged, screaming about how Wanshu's happy face irks her. The situation turns deadly when a knife is pulled out. Wanshu tries to fight back, but she's outnumbered and outmatched. In the struggle, her arm gets slashed and blood starts splattering the floor. Even after the bullies lose their weapon, Huang Kaiyan isn't done. She slams our poor heroine's head against the wall with sickening force. The bullies decide to leave before they get caught, but Wanshu desperately grabs Huang Kaiyan's leg, crying out that she's going to tell a teacher. This just makes the pigtail-wearing psycho lose it. She kicks Wanshu repeatedly, screaming, "I'll just fucking beat you up until you can't talk." To add insult to injury, she grabs a bucket of filthy mop water and dumps it over the shivering girl. They leave Wanshu broken and soaked on the bathroom floor. With the last of her strength, Wanshu reaches for her phone. While Rujun is oblivious in class, Wanshu manages to call her teacher, MS. Ren. "Teacher, third floor bathroom," she whimpers before collapsing. On the other end of the line, MS, Ren's expression goes cold as ice. She is so filled with quiet rage that she literally snaps her pen in half right in front of her class. Wanshu eventually wakes up in a hospital bed, her head and arm heavily bandaged. She looks around disoriented until she sees a familiar figure by the window. It's MS, Ren. As soon as Wanshu sees her, all the trauma comes rushing back and she bursts into tears. She throws herself into her teacher's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. MS, Ren holds her tight, stroking her hair with a look that says someone is going to pay dearly for this. "Everything's okay now," she whispers. But looking at the dark intensity in MS, Ren's eyes, I think the bullies are about to find out what real danger looks like. Wanshu is absolutely losing it, sobbing that she hates the woman who did this to her with every fiber of her being. Our poor heroine is at her total breaking point, wailing about what she could have possibly done to deserve such a nightmare. MS. Ren is right there though, holding her hands and playing the part of the perfect, comforting guardian angel. She looks Wanshu in the eye and promises her that none of this is her fault. Wanshu finally spills her guts about her tragic past, how her mom abandoned her and her dad ran away from a mountain of debt. She spent her life being a target for bullies, and she truly thought university would be her escape, but the world just kept hitting her. She should be rotting in the ground, Wanshu screams, and honestly, we can't even blame her for the saltiness. MS, Ren just listens calmly, noting that some people are just born selfish and arrogant without a single shred of conscience. Our girl looks completely broken, unsure of how to even move forward. But then MS, Ren pulls her into a hug and whispers a reminder that changes everything. "You're a novelist, Wanshu, that's all you can do right now." You can practically see the gears turning in Wanshu's head as she realizes she has one weapon left, her pen. She starts to wonder, should she write her bully right into the story and give her the ending she deserves? The doctor eventually finishes his rounds, telling them it's just a skin wound and she's free to go home. But Wanshu stares at her bandaged arms, terrified to touch her manuscript again after the last coincidence. MS, Ren isn't having any of that self-doubt though. She insists it was just a fluke, and tells Wanshu she's staying at her place so she can keep a close eye on her. Once they get to the apartment, MS, Ren gives our girl full access to her computer and tells her to make herself at home. As soon as MS, Ren heads out for her night classes, Wanshu finds herself creeping into the study. She's drowning in guilt, thinking that if some psycho is actually using her book as a manual for murder, then she's just as guilty as they are. In a moment of desperation, she calls her bestie, Rujun. Wanshu tests the waters, asking Rujun if she'd still be her friend even if she did something very, very bad. Rujun doesn't even blink, telling her, "No matter what happens, I will trust you unconditionally." Hearing that someone actually believes she isn't a monster sends Wanshu into a fresh fit of tears. Fueled by that bit of support, Wanshu decides she has to end the cycle. She sits down at the computer and starts typing like her life depends on it, determined to write the scum in her life to death. She figures if she kills the monster in the novel, she can prevent the horror from becoming a reality. We see the scene she's writing play out. Her characters, Shu Wan and the killer Pai Sai-ki, are having a final, toxic showdown. Pai Sai-ki is devastated that she tried to send him to prison after everything they shared. As the police start banging on the door, he looks at her with cold eyes. I'd rather kill myself than let anyone take away my freedom, he declares. In a massive, glass-shattering climax, he throws himself out the window. He falls through the dark sky, choosing a terminal exit over a cage. Back in the real world, Wanshu finally finishes the chapter and collapses, exhausted. Meanwhile, over at the university, MS, Ren is sitting in a grim meeting about the latest victim. She checks her phone and sees the notification that Wanshu just uploaded the new chapter. A chillingly blank expression crosses her face as she reads. Without a word to anyone, she stands up and walks out of the meeting, heading straight into the middle of a torrential thunderstorm. Back at the apartment, the storm causes a sudden power outage, plunging Wanshu into total darkness. She stands by the window, wondering why Ren isn't home yet. Suddenly, the door creaks open. Wanshu calls out Ren as a shadowy figure enters the room. It's her, but she's soaked to the bone, and the look in her eyes says the sweet teacher act is officially over. Talk about a terrifying cliffhanger. Glass shatters as the storm rages outside, reflecting the absolute chaos erupting inside the library. Ren stalks forward like a predator cornering its prey, her eyes shadowed and full of malice. She looks completely unhinged as she growls out a low warning. Despicable third-rate writer, she screams, finally losing all her composure. Before Wanshu can even blink, Ren slams her against the window with terrifying strength. A hand grips our heroine's throat, pinning her down and cutting off her breath. You killed Pasek, Ren bellows, her face twisted into a mask of pure murderous rage. She tightens her grip, determined to make Wanshu suffer for the lives lost in her stories. Our poor girl gasps for air, tears streaming down her face as she tries to defend herself. I've done so many things for you, she chokes out, but her words fall on deaf ears. Ren's heart has turned to ice as she demands to know if this betrayal is how she's being repaid. Everything fades into a cold, dark void. Memories begin to shatter like glass in Wanshu's mind, showing the twisted bond they once shared. She sees images of their past, realizing the woman she admired is actually a monster. She sees the bodies, the blood, and the ultimate betrayal. Wanshu curls into a ball in the darkness, sobbing that this has to be a nightmare. She loves me, she whispers, desperately trying to cling to a lie even as her world crumbles. The sound of rustling paper suddenly pulls her back to reality. Wanshu opens her eyes, praying she's anywhere else, but the sight of Ren sitting nearby stops her heart. It wasn't a dream, Ren is right there, calmly reading a book in the room. Wanshu tries to move, but a sharp, throbbing pain in her wrist reminds her of the struggle. Ren doesn't even look up as she speaks with chilling indifference. I was wondering when you were going to stop fake sleeping, she says, finally turning her gaze toward the bed. Wanshu looks down and realizes the horrifying truth. She's been chained to the bed like an animal. She pulls at the cold metal, her eyes wide with terror as the reality of her kidnapping sets in. You murderer, she screams, the heavy chains clanking loudly against the frame. She thrashes around, but the restraints hold firm, leaving her completely at Ren's mercy. Ren just watches her tantrum with a bored, almost pitying expression. Wanshu threatens to call the cops, screaming that everyone will know she's a killer. But Ren just tilts her head and asks, what evidence do you have that proves I killed them? Wanshu is stunned, her voice failing her as she realizes Ren has likely cleaned up every single trace. I don't need any evidence, you're the real killer, she shouts, citing the coincidences that follow Ren everywhere. Ren leans in close, her shadow looming over the bed. Aren't you a murderer too? She whispers, her voice dripping with venom. Wanshu frantically denies it, but Ren has her cornered. Ren points out that Wanshu is the one who wrote the characters' fates into her novel in the first place. She mocks Wanshu's evil heart, making her feel just as guilty as the person actually holding the knife. Ren reaches out to touch her chin, forcing Wanshu to look at her. She pins our girl down, the height of the tension making Wanshu's heart race for all the wrong reasons. Ren tells her to admit she isn't innocent, that her hands are just as stained with blood. She decides to test Wanshu's feelings, leaning in despite the girl's desperate pleas to stop. Ren mocks her, saying she enjoyed the attention before. As Wanshu cries and screams that she's a psycho, Ren's obsession only seems to grow. Ren compares her tear-filled eyes to dying livestock, savoring the exact moment Wanshu's spirit begins to break. But Wanshu has one last bit of fight left in her. As Ren leans in to whisper more threats, Wanshu lunges forward and sinks her teeth into Ren's neck. Blood drips down as Ren pulls back in shock, clutching the wound. Wanshu trembles, horrified by her own sudden violence. She realizes she can't stay in the same room as this maniac for another second. Ren stands over her again, and this time she has a knife glinting in her hand. Do you know where the last person that hurt me went? She asks with a terrifying, calm smile. She leans the blade toward Wanshu's face, leaving no doubt about the danger she's in. You can take a guess, she purrs. Nuwu, you can't do this. Our poor heroine screams, her face a mess of tears and bandages. But her captor isn't moved. I really hate people that are rude to me, the dark-haired stalker whispers, her grip on our girl's wrist tightening like a vice. Our heroine begs for mercy, sobbing out apologies, but it's too late. She already crossed the line by killing off the stalker's favorite character, Pasek. It's an unreasonable plot, the maniac growls. You'll have to change it to satisfy the readers. She holds our girl's hand up, asking what these hands are even for if they aren't writing what she wants to read. Terrified and desperate, our heroine offers to change the entire plot however she wants, just begging for her life. When asked why she rushed the ending, our girl stammers that the novel's ratings weren't good and she felt like she had zero talent left. But wait, the stalker actually starts giving her a pep talk. The creative arts are lonely and depressing, she says, actually dismissing the ratings as meaningless numbers. She calls our girl a coward for wanting to be accepted by everyone instead of staying true to her work. Our heroine is understandably stunned. Is she getting murdered or an aggressive therapy session? Meanwhile, at a local news station, a reporter is obsessing over a mysterious lipstick tube while waiting for a lead on the stone statue case. Her coworker mentions that the school's surveillance was down for an upgrade, making a breakthrough nearly impossible. Suddenly, a notification pings, the novel just updated. They scroll through the chapters in total shock because the author just did the unthinkable. The male lead is dead. The reporters realize that if the killer is actually with the author right now, this plot twist just signed the author's death warrant. Back in the House of Horrors, the stalker is done playing nice. Start writing, she orders, looming over our girl at the desk. She demands a wonderful resurrection story better than Sherlock Holmes, getting creepy and intimate as she whispers encouragement into our girl's ear. She gives our heroine exactly one day to bring her favorite character back to life. Our girl tries to stand her ground, especially when the stalker threatens to bring her friend Wen Rujun over for inspiration. Don't you dare touch her, she screams, declaring she won't write another word even if the monster kills them both. She even yells that the police will catch her, but the stalker just sighs like a disappointed parent. It seems like you'll never learn your lesson, she whispers. Our heroine tries to fight back, but she's no match for a literal maniac. The stalker decides it's time for a lesson our girl won't forget. A poor heroine is trembling, her fingers flying across the keys as she tries to finish the chapter under extreme pressure. Her face is a mess of tears and bandages, and that heavy collar around her neck is a constant reminder of who's really in charge here. Behind her, the cold-blooded villainess sits like a predator on the prowl, casually smoking as she watches the clock tick down. Honey, there's only an hour left, she says, her voice smooth but deadly. Are you done writing? Desperate to survive the night, Jiang Wanshu finally manages to hit the print button. The printer whirs to life, spitting out the pages that represent our girl's last hope for mercy. The villainess takes the manuscript with a chilling, silent calm while our heroine stands there, literally shaking in her boots. But the silence is shattered by a scream of pure rage. Miss Jiang Wanshu, do you take me for an idiot? The woman roars, throwing the papers into the air like trash. She's absolutely disgusted with the lazy plot points. Pei crawled out of his grave. He then returned to his old life as a zombie. Are you trying to make me laugh? Jiang Wanshu sobs, her voice cracking as she explains, there's no other simple way to raise someone from the dead. But the villainess isn't looking for excuses. Rewrite it, she commands, her eyes cold and piercing. When our girl breaks down and begs to be let go, the villainess just pulls her into a terrifyingly close, suffocating embrace. She leans in, whispering that she caught the secret code Jiang tried to hide in the English phrases. A desperate cry for help. I really want to eat you up, she purrs, sending shivers down our heroine's spine. Bai and her friend are staring at their phones in shock, noticing the tone has completely shifted into something far more sinister. The new chapter describes the killer, Pei cornered by a SWAT team in a high-stakes standoff. In a final act of defiance, he hurls himself through a glass window, falling into the dark abyss while claiming he lost to love. But a monster like him doesn't die that easily. He's rushed to the hospital, covered in blood and glass, but he sports a twisted smile because he knows his story is far from over. The nurses on duty gossip about him, thinking he's a total vegetable safely handcuffed to his bed. Little do they know, his finger is already twitching back to life. In the dead of night, when a lone nurse comes to check his vitals, he finally strikes. Good night, little Miss Nurse, he whispers, and a sickening crack echoes through the room as he ends her life without a second thought. He casually unlocks his cuffs, steps over the body, and destroys the security camera as if it were a toy. Back at the office, Bai realizes something is horribly wrong. It feels like this part was written by someone else, she mutters, her heart sinking with every word she reads. She's been trying to reach Jiang Wanshu for days, but there's been nothing but radio silence. As she leaves the building to investigate, the scene shifts to a dark shop where a mysterious figure is buying an axe. How much does this cost? They ask with a chilling grin before the screen is washed in a spray of blood. Bai Kai arrives at the school building, determined to find some answers. She's relieved she had the sense to check with the counselor first, but the news she receives isn't exactly comforting. It turns out Jiang Wanshu hasn't shown her face at school for several days. Our girl is starting to panic, wishing she'd just listened to her mother and gone straight to the police. She starts hunting for any kind of lead she can find. She spots a class schedule and notes that a science and tech lecture is happening on the 3rd floor. It's not like I don't have any leads, she mutters, heading toward room 309. She finds the classroom and carefully peeks through the door. Inside, a lecture is already in full swing. The teacher, Ms. Ren, is standing at the front of the room, lecturing about a legendary sword from a Tang Dynasty novel. Our girl manages to slip into the back of the room, feeling like she's a college student all over again. She notices that Ms. Ren has completely changed her style today, looking sharp and professional. The other students are whispering about how cool she looks in her new glasses. Ms. Ren finishes up the lecture and reminds everyone to submit an article for their assessment. As the class clears out, Bai Kai notices a student named Rujun approaching the teacher's desk. Rujun looks worried as he asks if she's been able to contact Jiang Wanshu lately. Ms. Ren claims she hasn't seen her in days either. Bai Kai decides to jump in, greeting them both. They realize they're all looking for the same missing girl. Ms. Ren tries to play it cool, suggesting that Jiang is probably just taking a few days off to rest at home. Bai Kai mentions that the counselor wouldn't give her Jiang's address, but Rujun reveals he actually knows where she lives. He's hesitant to just barge in, but our girl isn't about to let this go. She convinces them that they need to check on her immediately, and Ms. Ren agrees to tag along. But then Ms. Ren says something that should have set off every alarm bell in the room. "I'm worried about my little kitty at home. Perhaps it'll be more obedient if I starve it some." Talk about a red flag. Still, she tells the group to wait for her while she drops some things off at the office. Before they can leave, a girl named Huang shows up, acting all clingy and trying to get Rujun to go to the basketball court. Rujun is clearly done with her and tells her to stop bothering him. Huang loses her mind when she hears they are looking for Jiang, screaming that she's a murderer and they shouldn't associate with her. Ms. Ren and Bai Kai can only watch as this girl makes a total scene. Huang keeps ranting, insisting that the world would be better off if scum like Jiang just disappeared. Rujun is absolutely fed up and tells her to shut her mouth. Despite the drama, they head over to the apartment complex to see if Jiang is actually home. They stand outside the door, knocking and calling her name, but there is no response from inside. The silence is deafening, and the group start to get even more anxious. Bai Kai points out that it's weird that Jiang will reply to texts, but won't answer her phone. It's almost like someone else is responding for her. Suddenly, Ms. Ren reaches down and pulls a key from under the welcome mat. Bai Kai is stunned, asking how she could possibly know where the keys were hidden. Ms. Ren just smirks, claiming it's common sense. They unlock the door and step into the apartment. The place is a complete disaster, with clothes and trash scattered everywhere. Huang immediately starts acting like a brat, complaining about how disgusting and dirty murderers are. Rujun tells her to stop talking, but the damage is done. Ms. Ren surveys the mess, her eyes cold as she notes how disorganized the room is. Realizing that something is very wrong, they decide they have no choice but to call the police. Bai Kai's hands are shaking as she dials the emergency number, terrified that Jiang might have been taken by the copycat killer. It doesn't take long for the police to arrive and begin their investigation. While they wait on the stairs, Huang just won't let it go, continuing to badmouth the missing girl. Ms. Ren finally turns her icy gaze toward the student. She tells the girl that even though she won't be her teacher for much longer, she has one last lesson to teach her. Calamity comes by means of mouth, she warns. She leaves the girl with a chilling reminder that speaking nonsense will only lead to trouble. I don't know what you're talking about, our girl stammers as the others walk in. Reporter Bai isn't buying the act, explaining to the group that the police are already investigating Jiang Wanshu's disappearance. The vibes are beyond rancid as the reporter mentions it might be connected to a late student, and honestly, the school is starting to look like a horror movie set. Tisk, how unlucky, someone mutters while the group decides to split up. Rujun is clearly terrified, asking if they're absolutely sure Wanshu isn't in danger right now. But before anyone can answer, Bai warns them that the serial killer is still on the loose, which is definitely not the reassurance they needed. Wait, where is Ms. Ren going? She stops in her tracks when reporter Bai calls her out. You're just going to leave like that? Bai asks, looking suspicious. Ms. Ren doesn't skip a beat, claiming she needs to get home because her kitten is starving. Her eyes turn cold as she stares at the reporter, practically counting the seconds until she can leave. And by kitten, she means our poor heroine, who is literally chained to the floor in a dark room. Our girl is coughing and desperate, calling her captor every name in the book. But Ms. Ren doesn't care about the insults. She just leans down and adjusts the shackles. You son of a bitch, our girl screams, but Ms. Ren just stares at her with those dead eyes. She holds up a key, dangling hope in front of her like a cruel game. Before I come back, I want you to finish writing the story the way I taught you, she commands, handing over a cup of coffee like she's a supportive editor and not a total psycho. She even tells our girl to energize herself, which is top-tier gaslighting. Ms. Ren puts a hand on her shoulder, leaning in close to whisper that she'll be back after class. Our girl is forced to sit at the desk, the heavy chains clinking with every move she makes. As soon as the door shuts, the hollow look in her eyes turns to pure rage. Who the hell do you think you are? She snarls, staring at the coffee. She loses it, smashing the cup against the desk in a spray of caffeine and ceramic. Why the hell should I stay here obediently? She screams, glass flying everywhere. She's done being a victim and starts frantically searching for a way out. She drags her chains across the floor, the sound of metal on tile echoing through the room. She slams her body against the glass, desperate to be heard. Anyone there, help me, she shrieks, collapsing onto the floor. She crawls toward the door, her voice breaking as she begs for someone to save her. She reaches for the handles, her hand trembling. But then she pauses. She looks at her bandaged finger, realizing she's burning up with a fever. I'm done for, this wound is probably infected, she whispers, her vision fading. Suddenly, the door creaks open. She looks up, her heart stopping as she sees those familiar black boots. It's Ms. Ren, and she's looking down at our girl like she's a stray bug. She's carrying a bag, walking past the shivering girl with total indifference. But then she does something completely unexpected. As she leaves the door wide open. Our girl can't believe her eyes, staring at the hallway as her heart pounds. Ms. Ren leans down, her face inches away. The door is open, you can leave, she whispers. She tells her she just has to crawl outside and call for help to live. How did it come to this? Our girl wonders, looking at the long, dark hallway. Ms. Ren looms over her, threatening to close the door if she doesn't hurry up and crawl. Desperate, our girl starts dragging herself across the floor, leaving a literal trail of blood behind. She's almost there, whispering for help with every agonizing inch. Speak up, Ms. Ren demands, watching the struggle like it's a theater performance. You're not loud enough, she mocks as our girl breaks down in tears. She finally reaches the threshold of the hallway, her strength completely gone. She manages one last weak cry for help. But the game is over, Ms. Ren reaches for the handle. No, let me out, our girl screams, grabbing at the door. She bangs on the wood, but Ms. Ren just smiles. Hey, didn't I give you a chance already? She tells her not to blame anyone but herself for being too slow. You bitch, our girl cries out, but Ms. Ren just grabs her by the jaw. I'm a bitch, really? She asks, before claiming that she only gave her a chance to escape because she loves her. Our girl isn't having it. You don't understand love, she yells, but Ms. Ren pins her against the wall. Yes, I don't understand love, Ms. Ren admits with a chilling calm. She leans in, her breath on our girl's neck. Then how about you teach me how to love you? Our girl struggles, screaming that she's going to kill her. Instead of being scared, Ms. Ren starts laughing hysterically. She pulls out a folding knife and hands it over. Killing me is fine too, she says, forcing our girl's hand onto the blade. She leans in, calling them both natural killers. She starts describing all the gore and violence our girl has written in her novels, asking if it excites her. She presses the knife against her own abdomen, using our girl's hand to draw blood. Pierce into my abdomen, then you can kill me. She screams, her eyes wide with madness. Our girl is shaking, her resolve crumbling as the knife bites into skin. She can't do it, she drops the knife, the metal clattering on the floor. She collapses, sobbing that she just can't do it. Ms. Ren throws her head back and laughs, find the whole display hilarious. Hee hee, you are really cute. What a kind and useless idiot, she coos, patting our girl's head. Then her voice drops to a whisper. Are you ready to face the punishment for failing this game? Are you ready to face the punishment for failing this game? The woman asks, her voice chillingly calm as she looms over our poor heroine in the dark. Wanshu can only tremble, sobbing and begging for mercy as the reality of her situation sinks in. Relax, the woman whispers, grabbing Wanshu's wrist with a grip like iron. You still need your fingers for typing, but the other parts not so much. Wanshu screams in terror as she looks down at the heavy chains already binding her ankles. This woman is completely off her rocker, staring at our girl with cold, calculating eyes. She suddenly scoops Wanshu up like a doll, ignoring her frantic cries to be let down. With a violent swipe, she clears the coffee table, shattering cups everywhere before pinning Wanshu down onto the hard surface. What am I doing, don't you know already? She sneers, hovering inches away from Wanshu's face. Wanshu finally snaps and delivers a sharp slap across that smug face. You're insane, murderer, I hate you. She screams, her voice cracking with pure desperation, but the antagonist doesn't even flinch. She pins Wanshu's arms down, looming over her to deliver a terrifying ultimatum. 1. Obey my wishes and keep writing the novel the way I want it, or 2. Be mine. She makes it clear that if Wanshu becomes worthless to her, she won't hesitate to end her life. It's time to make your decision, my dear Wanshu, she says, her voice a deadly purr. When Wanshu can't find the words, the woman decides for her, pulling her into a dark, suffocating embrace. Later, we see Wanshu collapsed on the sofa, exhausted and broken, while the antagonist stands by the window, smoking a cigarette and watching her prey sleep. In that moment, she realized the world was a cruel place, thinking it would be better if everyone just died. Her life was a nightmare of being sent to bars and being brutally bullied at school, returning home with a bloodied face while others laughed. Back in the present, she seems to have a tiny sliver of a heart left, checking Wanshu's fever and heading to the kitchen to cook some porridge. When Wanshu finally wakes up, she's still terrified, cowering under the covers and avoiding the woman's touch. The antagonist doesn't push it, leaving the food and some medicine on the table before heading out, complaining about having to go to class. Once she's alone, Wanshu finally crawls out from her hiding spot. As she eats the porridge, the tears start flowing again. It's the most care she's received in this nightmare, even if it's from her captor. Meanwhile, the antagonist Wen Rujun is sitting in a cafe, looking every bit the sophisticated student. When the waiter warns her that the espresso is bitter, she just gives a hollow smile. "This bit of bitterness is nothing to me," she says, her mind drifting back to her dark work. As she writes her assignment on a madman's diary, the scars on her arm serve as a permanent reminder of the girl she used to be. Bai Jai is deep in the trenches of her investigation, and the more she digs, the more the pieces just don't fit. She's losing her mind wondering why the police haven't found a single lead yet. How can a crime be this neat and precise without leaving a trace? She stares at Jiang Wanshu's file, noting that it's no coincidence she went missing right when school was supposed to start. Local surveillance shows she never even made it home after asking for time off. Our girl is spiraling, clutching a note as she wonders if it was suicide or if *E* actually killed her. "Wanshu, you better be safe," she cries out, slamming her head onto her desk in frustration. Her coworker tries to get her to chill, but Bai Jai's brain is moving at 100 miles an hour. She's analyzing Ren Pingsheng, thinking that if she's the one behind this, her acting was way too flawless at the house. But if she excludes the teacher, that leaves only one person close to Wanshu, her classmate Wen Rujun. Meanwhile, over at the gym, the atmosphere is a lot less heavy, at least on the surface. Wang Kaiyan is sitting on the sidelines, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. A boy nearby is busy checking his phone, looking totally suspicious as he gets a text from Wanshu claiming she's just at a relative's house. He looks up at Wang Kaiyan, noting that she's clearly not herself lately. Her friend tries to drag her to the showers before the hot water shuts off, but Wang Kaiyan just waves them off, saying she'll stay a bit longer. The boy approaches her, noticing she actually looks happy for once. "Who were you talking to? You seem so happy," he asks. He tells her that Wanshu finally messaged him back, but Wang Kaiyan's vibe immediately shifts. "Why do you still care about her so much?" she snaps. He doesn't hold back, pointing out that everyone knows she has a crush on Ren, and she's the only one pretending not to notice. He walks away, leaving our poor heroine looking absolutely stung. Back at the dorms that night, things get weird. A roommate hands Wang Kaiyan a letter that was left on the windowsill. Our girl is confused, but when she opens it, she finds a super intense, poetic confession mentioning the Greek god of death, Thanatos. It asks if she's willing to accept the writer's heart. Could it be Wen Rujun? She wonders, though she admits the handwriting doesn't quite match. Little does she know, someone is hunched over a desk nearby, scribbling away in the dark. Over the next few days, the letters keep coming, and they're getting even more romantic. One finally asks her to meet behind the science building tonight. Her friends see her blushing over the paper and tease her about having a secret admirer. Wang Kaiyan tries to play it cool, but she's clearly catching feelings. Even when her roommate heads out to get drunk, Wang Kaiyan is too distracted by the mystery writer to care. During class, she can't focus on anything the teacher is saying. She keeps rereading the letter, her heart racing as she wonders if it really is Wen Rujun. She knows the area behind the building is abandoned and creepy, but her curiosity is winning. "I should probably not go," she tells herself as the bell rings, but her feet have other plans. She sneaks out into the night, her nerves on edge as she walks through the shadows. She's second-guessing everything, wondering if it's just a cruel prank. She runs into a couple of classmates who mention they saw Wen Rujun heading toward the science building about half an hour ago. That's all the confirmation she needs. Oh my god, she's the one who wrote the letters. She squeals, practically floating with joy as she runs toward the meeting spot. She pushes through the rusted gates of the abandoned playground, calling out Rujun's name. But the only thing that greets her is a black cat jumping out of the weeds, nearly giving her a heart attack. She laughs it off, feeling silly for being so scared. She keeps calling out for Rujun, but the silence is starting to feel heavy. "Maybe I'm just making a fool of myself," she sighs, looking downcast as she decides to head back. But just as she turns around, a dark, hooded figure lunges out of the shadows. Before she can even scream, a hand grabs her and the trap is finally sprung. The camera pans over a silent, dimly lit classroom, the fluorescent lights buzzing with an eerie stillness. Our girl, student Wang, slowly stirs on her desk, her head heavy and her vision blurred. She groans in confusion, tears pricking her eyes as she tries to make sense of the darkness. "Oh, it hurts," she whimpers, reaching up to feel a nasty red bruise blooming across her neck. But as she tries to move her hands, a cold metallic clink stops her heart. What's going on?" She gasps, her eyes snapping wide with pure terror. She's not just in detention, she's been bolted to the desk with heavy-duty metal cuffs. She tugs desperately, the metal biting into her wrists, but she's going nowhere. Panic sets in as she screams into the empty room, Who is it? Who is doing this to me?" Her voice cracks with desperation, her eyes darting around the shadows for any sign of her captor. Suddenly, a silhouette appears in the doorway, casually holding a baseball bat like it's a simple prop. Huang, squinting through the gloom, whispers, "Wen Rujun." But as the figure steps closer, she realizes she was dead wrong. "No, you're not Wen Rujun," she shrieks, the reality of her situation becoming much more terrifying. She demands to know who this hooded stranger is, accusing them of being an accomplice to the murderous Jiang Wanshu. She tries to play the tough card, barking out threats about the police and reporters. "If you dare touch me, you'll definitely be sentenced to death." She yells, but the figure just keeps walking, the sound of heavy boots clicking against the floorboards. The hood finally comes down and Huang's jaw hits the floor. It's not some random thug, it's her teacher. MMS, Ren, she stammers, her bravado vanishing in a second. MS, Ren leans over her, a chillingly calm expression on her face as she toys with a lollipop. Good evening, Student Huang, she purrs, poking the girl's cheek with the candy. Surprised to see me. Huang flinches back, her skin crawling as the woman she's supposed to trust shows her true, twisted colors. The shock quickly turns back into vitriol. Huang snarls that she knew Ren and Wanshu were the same, just pieces of trash. MS, Ren doesn't even blink. She hops onto a nearby desk, looking like she has all the time in the world. You're just here to shut me up, you maniac. Huang screams, but MS, Ren just sighs. Oh, what a pity, you're only halfway correct, she replies, her eyes turning cold as ice. Huang's mind races as she realizes when Rujun might be in danger too. She accuses Ren of wanting to kill everyone, but Ren just watches her with a bored, clinical detachment. Huang continues her hateful rant, screaming about how disgusting Wanshu is and how she doesn't deserve to live. That was the wrong thing to say. In a flash, the lollipop is out of her mouth. **slam, **MS. Ren grabs Huang and bashes her face into the desk with brutal force. Say it again, Ren whispers, her voice dripping with a lethal threat. She steps over the sobbing girl, who is now bleeding from her nose and shaking like a leaf. The arrogance is gone, replaced by a bloody, tear-streaked mess of a student. Ren grabs her by the jaw, forcing her to look up. Weren't you so arrogant just now? She mocks. She suggests they play a game to pass the time. Take a look at yourself, she sneers, relishing the look of absolute defeat on the girl's face. As the moon hangs high over the school, Ren whispers into her ear, how about you take a guess of what I'm gonna do with you? If you guess right, I'll give you a prize. Meanwhile, far away from the carnage, our poor heroine Jiang Wanshu is burning the midnight oil at her computer. Her hands are heavily bandaged, a grim reminder of her own struggles as she finally types the word end on her latest chapter. She lets out a weary sigh, looking completely drained. The room around her is massive and empty, making her feel even smaller. She notices the faint scars around her ankles, a haunting mark of her past. Wandering over to the bookshelf, she gazes at titles about experimental medicine and philosophy. She pulls a book titled On the Soul from the shelf. For a moment, she imagines a mess. Ren standing right behind her, guiding her hand just like a ghost from a memory. She shakes her head, trying to banish the thought of the woman who has consumed her life. As she tries to put the book back, a stack of papers and an old photo slip out and clatter to the floor. She kneels down to pick them up and freezes. It's a photo of a young girl in a school uniform, looking miserable and lonely. Turning it over, she sees the name Ren Pingsheng. This is Ren Pingsheng's birth name, she whispers. She begins to read the handwritten diary entry tucked inside. May 7, 1998, it was a cloudy day. I drowned him right in the river. Wanshu's eyes go wide with horror as she reads the chilling confession. He deserved to die. I was merely getting rid of the pests in this world. The scene shifts back to that fateful year. A young, long-haired Ren walks through the school gates, her face already hardened by life. She is immediately met with cruelty as a group of boys spit on her and mock her tattered appearance. Are you not embarrassed going to school looking like that? They jeer. They call her a slut and claim she sells her body after school, just like her trash foot. They laugh as she walks away, but the diary entry reveals her dark inner thoughts. Why is it a crime to hurt those that hurt others? She fantasized about tearing their mouths apart, but her life at home was just as much of a nightmare. Her father, a gambling addict, would wait for her just to snatch away the pittance of money she earned. That's it, he'd grumble, caring more about his next bet than his own daughter's well-being. She would lie in bed telling herself this will all pass, while her heart grew colder by the day. Then one afternoon by the bridge, the tables turned. One of her tormentors fell into the churning river, screaming for help. I can't swim, he shrieked, splashing frantically. Young Ren stood at the railing, watching him drown. At first, she looked worried, perhaps even ready to reach out. But then a dark sigh escaped her lips. As the boy reached a desperate hand toward her, she simply pulled her own hand away, watching with a blank stare as he slipped beneath the surface. She watched the bubbles disappear, her mind made up. I will change this world, the diary concludes, leaving Wanshu trembling at the origin of the monster she now knows. Wang Kaiyan is struggling to breathe, coughing up blood as our cold-blooded queen looks on with total indifference. She desperately asks what the hell the MC wants, but our girl just gives her a chilling, let me think. She calmly walks over to her bag, casually asking if Wang Kaiyan has ever heard of the infamous game of Russian roulette. As she explains the lethal 19th century gambling game, the tension in the room becomes suffocating. You die if you have bad luck, our girl says, pointing the muzzle of a strange-looking device at her own head. Wang Kaiyan is absolutely losing her mind, begging her to stop. But our girl isn't done yet. She reveals this isn't a real gun, but she's added her own twisted set of rules. When it's your turn, I'll fire at your hands, she explains with a sadistic glint in her eye. If you can manage to stay quiet, I'll let you leave alive. Wang Kaiyan screams that she's a total psycho, but our girl just smirks, stepping right onto the desk to pin her down. I am really lucky, she gloats before firing another nail into the girl's other hand. Wang Kaiyan is hysterical, calling her a freak liar and screaming for anyone to help her. Luckily for her, or maybe unluckily, Rujun is wandering the halls and hears the commotion. He follows the noise to the classroom, calling out for Wang Kaiyan. He finds her slumped over the desk, looking like she's been through a meat grinder. But before he can even process the horror, our girl appears behind him like a vengeful ghost. Asterisk ZZZZT, asterisk she hits him with a high-voltage taser and he drops like a stone. We then get a glimpse into the past, where a group of students is accusing a young Ren Pingsheng of pushing a boy named AG into the water. The teachers are skeptical, thinking the kids are just bullying her because they don't get along. The teacher corners our girl in an empty classroom to get the truth. Ren Pingsheng puts on an Oscar-worthy performance, crying and swearing it was the other boys who did it. The teacher totally falls for the crocodile tears, comforting her and apologizing for even doubting her. But the moment the teacher's back is turned, the mask slips, revealing a terrifying smile. In reality, she watched with glee as the boy drowned, believing that if you can't get rid of a problem, you just get rid of the person causing it. Back in the present, Rujun finally groggily wakes up. He looks across from him and sees a nightmare come to life. Wang Kaiyan is sitting there, but she's been decorated like a morbid centerpiece, covered in bright orange poppies. Her eyes are wide, glassy, and completely lifeless. Rujun can only scream in pure, unadulterated terror as he realizes he's trapped in a room with a beautiful monster. The atmosphere is heavy as a haunting melody fills the room. Our mysterious girl leans back, humming a tune that would give anyone the creeps. You start a conversation, you can't even finish it, she sings, her voice dripping with a mocking playfulness. She looks completely unbothered, almost bored by the chaos she's likely caused. Then, the chilling silence is broken by a sudden manic burst of laughter that echoes through the empty space. It's the kind of laugh that tells you she's totally lost it, or maybe, she's the only one who knows exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, the reality of the situation is much grimmer at the local playground. Police have the area cordoned off as reporter Bai steps onto the scene, her camera ready to capture the nightmare. The victim is identified as Wang Kaiyan, and let me tell you, the details are absolutely stomach-turning. Her hands were pierced by steel nails, and the killer used a professional medical device to replace her brain tissue with soil. Talk about a literal dirt naps. Scattered around the body are vibrant red poppies, a calling card we've seen before. Reporter Bai's mind is racing, connecting the dots between all the victims. Every single person who ended up dead had one thing in common, a terrible relationship with Jiang Wanshu. Could she have been killed because she knew something she shouldn't have? Bai wonders, her eyes wide with a realization that chills her to the bone. But there's another name that keeps popping up in this twisted web, Ren Pingsheng. Ren is currently the picture of innocence, calmly working at her desk as if the world isn't burning down around her. The office is buzzing with terror, students and staff alike whispering about the playground murderer. When Bai spots Ren in the hallway, she doesn't hold back. She marches up and grabs Ren by the collar, her face twisted in rage. "You're the one behind all of this, right?" she screams, demanding the truth. Ren doesn't even flinch, offering a cold, vacant smile. "I don't understand," she says smoothly. "What are you saying?" Bai lays it all out, the victims, the connections, and the fact that Ren is the only one who knew every single person involved. But Ren has an ace up her sleeve. "Hasn't the killer already been caught?" she asks, her voice like ice. Just then Bai's phone rings and the news on the other end is a total bombshell. The police have arrested a suspect, Wen Rujun, Wang Kaiyan's own classmate. Bai is so shocked she drops her phone, watching it shatter on the floor just like her theory. At the station, Bai is losing her mind. "Wen Rujun, how could it be her?" she yells at the officers. She refuses to believe this kind girl is a murderer, but the police are firm. Rujun was caught red-handed, standing right next to the body in a place with zero surveillance. Inside the holding cell, Rujun is a shell of her former self, clutching her head and sobbing. "She deserved it. She's finally dead," she mutters over and over, clearly suffering from a massive mental break. Bai rushes to the bars, desperate to reach her. "Rujun, do you remember me? It's reporter Bai," she pleads, but the girl is lost in her own personal hell. The police explain that Rujun is in a state of extreme PTSD, but the evidence is damning. Only her fingerprints were on the murder weapon. Bai knows this is a setup. A girl like Rujun couldn't plan something this sophisticated. The real murderer is still running free. She warns, but the detectives tell her to stop making hasty conclusions. Fuming, Bai leaves the station, her mind immediately darting back to Ren Pingsheng. She's convinced Ren planned this entire frame job to get the heat off herself. Back at the school, Ren is casually biting into a crisp red apple, looking like the villain in a fairy tale. She asks a colleague to cover her class, claiming she's worried about a kitten she has at home. "It'll be troublesome if the murderer comes after my kitty," she says with a dark, knowing smirk. As she walks away, we see her phone screen, and it's not a pet she's watching. It's a secret camera feed of our poor heroine, sleeping soundly and completely unaware that her guardian is actually her biggest nightmare. Ren is out doing some casual grocery shopping, but her mind is definitely not on the bread. She's glued to her phone, watching a hidden camera feed of our girl, Y, who is currently sobbing her eyes out in her sleep. Y wakes up in a panic, frantically searching the room until she finds a hidden diary and shoves it back onto a high shelf. Little does she know, her stalker/captor is watching the whole thing with a creepy smile, whispering that she's so cute she can't handle it. Back at the house, Y is a nervous wreck, checking the clock and realizing it's already 10 p.m. She's terrified that if Ren finds out she touched that diary, things are going to get ugly fast. She's trapped, her phone has been taken away, and she has no idea if her friend Wen Rujun is even looking for her. Suddenly, the door creaks open, and Y barely has time to dive onto the desk and pretend to be asleep. Ren strolls in, casually washing her hands like she didn't just spend her commute stalking her roommate. She leans over Y, her hand icy cold as she touches the girl's neck. Y can't help but flinch and the game is up. "What are you doing?" She stammers, but Ren just pokes her cheek, laughing about how endearing it is when she plays pretend. Y tries to retreat, pleading for Ren not to touch her, but she's caught in the web. Ren forces a kiss on her before effortlessly scooping our poor heroine up in a bridal carry. Y is absolutely fuming, calling her a succubus and demanding to be let go, but Ren just leans in close. "Don't tell me you were hoping for me to do something," she taunts with a wicked glint in her eyes. She claims she just wants to get along, but we all know that's a lie. Ren sits her down to watch the news, promising her a story she'll find interesting. The screen flashes with breaking news: a murder at the university. Y's heart stops when she sees the suspect being dragged away in handcuffs. It's Wen Rujun. The poor girl is screaming that she's innocent, but the trap has already been set. Ren leans in, her voice a chilling whisper as she asks, "How was it?" The sheer audacity of this woman, she actually has the nerve to tell Y to look at how well she treats her. As the news continues to report on the investigation, Y finally connects the dots and realizes the monster sitting next to her is the real killer. "You were the one that killed all those people," she gasps, her voice trembling. Ren doesn't even deny it, acting like it's just another Tuesday. Y finally snaps, pushing Ren away and screaming, "Why did you put Wen Rujun in jail? Are you crazy?" She can't understand why Ren would target someone so kind-hearted, but Ren just looks at her with those dead eyes. "So you don't think it's fun?" Ren asks, as if framing a student for murder is just a game. She gets up, casually explaining that she destroyed Wen with her own hands just to watch the wreckage, and the thought of it makes her heart flutter. Then Ren has the gall to ask how Y's novel is coming along, wondering if she used any of her ideas. That's the final straw. Y's face twists in pure rage as she grabs a pen from the desk. "Asshole," she screams, lunging forward and stabbing the pen right through Ren's hand. Blood spatters everywhere, but Ren doesn't even flinch. She just pins Y against the wall, her own blood dripping down her arm. "Why are you so impulsive?" Ren sighs, completely unbothered by the hole in her hand. She reminds Y that if she can get Wen into a cell, she can get her out, but only if Y behaves. If our girl doesn't listen, Ren might just give the police some leads that will ensure Wen never sees the light of day again. Ren actually licks the blood off her hand, cementing her status as a total psycho. The fight leaves Y's body and she collapses to the floor, sobbing hysterically. "No, please no, I'll listen to you," she whimpers, completely broken. She begs for Wen's life, promising anything just to save her friend. Ren kneels down, acting like she's the one being merciful as she starts to wrap a bandage around Y's hand. She calls Y a cat with unclipped claws that needs to be tamed. Ren tightens the grip, making Y cry out in pain as the blood continues to soak through. "But if it was an obedient cat, I might just grant her wish," she purrs. Handwriting identification confirmed the letter found in the victim's clothes was written by Wen Rujun, but our girl knows it's not that simple. The victim was killed with terrifying professional precision. Her head was literally cracked open, which is way beyond the skills of an ordinary student. By suspects as setup, realizing the letter was likely planted by the real murderer to frame Rujun and distract the police. Someone would have had to painstakingly imitate Rujun's handwriting just to lure the poor girl out to her doom. But the question remains, why was Rujun even at the playground that night and what was she trying to do? Our girl realizes there's a master manipulator pulling the strings from the shadows. Looking at the evidence, the most suspicious person in this entire web is none other than Jiang Wanshu. Bai imagines the confrontation, but she knows Wanshu would just smirk and ask, "Do you have any proof?" And she's right, the police found no murder weapon, no footprints, and no physical evidence at the scene. Even the fingerprints were scrubbed completely clean, leaving them with nothing. Suddenly, a message pings from Senior Bai, who has been doing some serious digging into the past. He sends over files on a headless corpse and an unsolved city extermination case. It turns out the Jihyun city extermination case is eerily similar to other unsolved crimes in the area. The modus operandi matches a novel by Mr. Pasek that they were discussing earlier. When Bai asks about the victims' families, the investigator's response is chilling. He admits that honestly, the family deserved to die because they were ruthless loan sharks. They forced people into debt and destroyed countless lives just to feed their greed. Bai freezes as the pieces click together. Wasn't Wanshu's father a notorious gambler who was likely in debt to people like them? The details of the murder in the file are a perfect match for the novel's plot, suggesting the killer is reenacting the story. Bai wonders if there's another novel by the same author that explains the current string of killings. She whispers Wanshu's name to herself, wondering what kind of darkness she's really hiding. We cut to Wanshu sitting alone in the dark, the glow of her cigarette the only light in the room. An entry from December 2013 talks about how the cries of desperation are the most beautiful sound in the world. She wrote about how those who destroy families never expect disaster to strike them back, hoping it wasn't too late for her to act. Flashback to a younger Wanshu standing in a dark hallway, a sharp blade gripped in her hand. The scene mirrors the novel's text, where a shadow approaches a group of gamblers obsessed with their game. The door is kicked open and the men inside scream in terror, "Who the hell are you?" Wanshu stands in the doorway, looking like a literal angel of death. She coldly identifies herself as Pasek and tells them she's there to take their lives. She tears through the room with savage efficiency, leaving a trail of blood and screams behind her. She tells him that trash like him destroyed her family, so he has no right to live. After the massacre, she calmly checks her phone, hoping she followed the novel's plot accurately. She stands among the bodies, convinced this was the best she could do to find justice. A twisted, satisfied smile spreads across her face as she starts to laugh hysterically in the middle of the carnage. Years earlier, we see Wanshu, then known as Ren Pingsheng, graduating with top honors. But the moment she gets home, her excellent life is shattered when her father throws her papers in her face. "Don't you dare act high and mighty just because you read some books," he screams at her. He brutally slaps her across the room, claiming she only lives comfortably because of his hard work. Lying in bed with bandages on her neck, Wanshu stares at the ceiling, wondering what the point of living even is. She finds a novel online called Nightmare Crucifixion, written by a user named Paiki. The author writes about how life is a meaningless curse and that we only cling to others out of vanity. Wanshu is stunned, feeling like she's finally found a kindred spirit in this dark world. She reads a story about a character who hates their gambler father but is too afraid to actually kill him. She's shocked to discover the author is just a middle school student, even younger than she is. She can't believe there's really someone else out there who feels exactly like she does. She stays up all night, her phone the only thing keeping her tethered to reality. The author describes the struggle of wanting to kill a father who has no love, yet being held back by some unknown cowardice or pity. Wanshu breaks down in tears, the words reflecting her own internal torment. But then the author posts a final update. Their father died in a car accident and they feel a sense of incredible relief. The author feels like they've been given a brand new life without having to commit a crime themselves. Wanshu whispers the word fate, her mind spinning with a dark new idea. Suddenly, her drunk father barges in, demanding she go out and buy him cigarettes. When she tells him she has a paper to write, he snaps, slamming her head down onto the desk. Blood drips onto her schoolwork, but Wanshu doesn't cry this time. Her eyes are dead as she calmly says, "All right." She tells him she'll go, her voice devoid of any emotion. She walks out of the house but doesn't head for the store. Instead, she sits on the stairs, waiting. After a while, she calls out to her father, claiming she forgot her keys and needs him to open the door. The drunk man stumbles out, cursing her for being a useless burden. As he reaches the top of the stairs, Wanshu gives him a firm, decisive push. He tumbles backward, the glass bottle in his hand shattering as he falls down the concrete steps. He hits the bottom with a sickening thud and lies motionless. Wanshu takes a sharp breath, preparing herself for the performance of her life. She starts screaming for help, acting like a devastated daughter whose father just had a tragic accident. But deep down, she knows the truth. If fate doesn't favor her, she'll simply change it herself. Bai Jai is deep in the trenches of a cold case from 2013. As she sips her coffee, the gears are turning. Could this decade-old tragedy really be connected to the mysterious woman currently haunting their lives? She's frustrated, feeling like she's just going in circles while the image of Ren Pingsheng lingers in the back of her mind. "Ren Pingsheng, who are you really?" she whispers to the empty room. Determined to find the truth, she starts digging into the name online, hoping a digital trail will reveal what the woman is hiding. Hours fly by as the clock ticks away. Her eyes are practically bleeding from staring at the screen, but just as she's about to give up, her pupils dilate. "I found it," she gasps, leaning in close to the monitor. It turns out our mysterious antagonist wasn't always Ren Pingsheng. She used to go by Ren Pingsheng, and she was a star student at her middle school. Looking through the archives, Bai Jai is stunned by how many awards this girl won. But then she finds something much darker, a file for the Jihyun City extermination case. Without a second thought, she pulls up a map on her phone to track down the locations linked to Ren's past. She's closing in. Meanwhile, things are getting dangerously intense at Ren's place. Our poor heroine stands trembling as Ren finishes reading her latest manuscript. The silence is suffocating until Ren finally sets the papers down. A predatory smile spreads across her face as she purrs, "I'm very pleased with this chapter." She grabs our girl's hands, pulling her into a terrifyingly intimate space. I can feel the despair and anguish in your words, Ren whispers, her eyes gleaming with a dark obsession. She claims that our girl's writing is what makes her feel unstoppable. Ren pulls her even closer, promising to guide her so she can write even better. Our girl tries to protest, stammering that there's no need, but Ren isn't listening. She holds our heroine onto her lap, effectively trapping her. When our girl tries to retreat back to her writing, Ren stops her cold. Our girl looks absolutely petrified as Ren's gaze turns icy. Then comes the ultimate nightmare. Ren reaches out and clicks a high-tech collar around our girl's neck. Before she can even process the horror, Ren is fastening another device to her ankle. Ren just smiles, saying she must be bored being stuck in the house all the time, so they're going on a little field trip. But there's a catch. You can try to run, but if you don't want to get shocked, Ren warns as a sharp *ZZT* sound echoes through the room. Our girl screams in pain, promising she won't run, while Ren just laughs, saying she'd actually love to see what a higher voltage would do. Ren then drags her over to show off some new clothes she bought for her. Go change into it, she commands, watching her captive like a prize she's finally won. Our girl can only stare at her reflection, a broken doll in a gilded cage. Soon they are out in the city, the car speeding through the streets. Ren is at the wheel, looking cool and detached in her sunglasses, while our girl sits in the passenger seat, touching the cold metal of the collar on her neck. She winces as it pinches her skin. She looks out the window, her mind racing with what-ifs. Wake up, Ren says sharply, breaking the trance. They've arrived at the Shangju cemetery. As they step out of the car, our girl is completely bewildered. A cemetery, she thinks, wondering why on earth Ren would bring her to such a somber place. They walk up the endless gray stairs together, eventually stopping before a specific grave. The name on the stone reads Ren Waiguang. Our girl realizes this must be Ren's father. Ren stands there looking down at the stone and admits it's the anniversary of his death. She rarely visits, but today she had a reason. She turns to our girl and says something that sends chills down her spine. I brought you here because I want to thank you. She removes her sunglasses, revealing eyes full of a twisted gratitude. She explains that if she hadn't read the story our girl wrote, Crucifixion Nightmare, she would still be living in her father's shadow. Our girl is horrified. What do you mean? She stammers. Ren reaches out, cupping her face. It was your words that gave me the strength to control my destiny, she says, her face inches away. Our girl is reeling. Ren has been stalking her work since they were in junior high. I was already deeply infatuated with you, Ren confesses, her obsession finally laid bare. Back in the city, Bai Jai has finally reached the old apartment complex where Ren used to live. She manages to get inside and encounters an elderly neighbor who recognizes the name Ren Kaiten. Bai Jai claims she's a friend who wants to help. The old woman sighs, saying Ren's life was nothing but misery. She remembers Ren as a good kid who was always polite and helpful, often helping her carry groceries. But then the old lady mentions that incident. She reveals that Ren's father was a degenerate gambler who actually tried to sell his own daughter to a nightclub because she had a good voice. Fortunately, God was looking out for her, the lady says, explaining that the father accidentally fell down the stairs and died while drunk. However, Ren's relatives never believed it was an accident. They accused her of murder. Bai Jai's eyes narrow. Was it really that simple? She wonders. The old lady mentions that today is the anniversary of the death and Ren might be at the cemetery. Bai Jai rushes there immediately. She searches the rows of graves and finds the father's headstone, noticing a cigarette still smoldering nearby. Someone was just here. She looks up and spots them. Ren Pingsheng is walking away with another girl in tow. She sees them getting into the car and starts sprinting down the stairs. She's gasping for air, desperately trying to catch a glimpse of the person with Ren. Could it be Jiang Wanshu, she thinks? But she's too late. As the car pulls away, Ren Pingsheng looks into the rearview mirror and sees Bai Jai standing there, exhausted and defeated. A dark, satisfied smirk plays on Ren's lips. She knows she's being followed and she doesn't care one bit. The city hums with life, but inside the car, the silence is deafening. Our girl Wanshu stares out the window as the world passes her by, her mind racing with a million different thoughts. I didn't think this day would ever come, she thinks, her heart pounding against her ribs. She truly believed she'd be trapped in that house forever, but suddenly the car door is opened. Ren Pingsheng stands there looking as elegant and dangerous as ever, asking what she wants for dinner while she tightly grips Wanshu's bandaged hand. Wanshu considers screaming for help right then and there, but she knows the terrifying truths. Ren has her under total control, and one wrong move could mean a world of pain for our poor heroine. Baby, Ren whispers, leaning in so close that Wanshu can feel her breath against her skin. She asks again what she wants to eat, and Wanshu can barely stammer out a response. What did you just call me? Our girl asks, trembling. Ren just smirks, her eyes cold behind her sunglasses. I called you baby, what about it? Ren suggests Korean BBQ, trying to act like a normal couple while Wanshu fights the urge to bolt. Whatever is fine, I'm not very hungry, Wanshu whispers as they walk through the crowded street. They eventually settle at an outdoor cafe surrounded by towering trees. Wanshu can't stop the tears from welling up. The freedom of the outside world is so close, yet she feels more trapped than ever. She tries to make a move, telling Ren she'll go grab the drinks as a desperate excuse to get away. Ren just gives her a chilling look and tells her to go quick. As Wanshu walks away, Ren watches her like a predator tracking its prey. You fly back to school now, little Wanshu. Fly, 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 she muses internally, clearly enjoying this sick psychological game. Wanshu reaches the counter, her mind a mess of desperation. She looks at the staff, thinking this is her one and only chance to finally speak up. But as she opens her mouth to beg for help, the trauma of her past comes flooding back in waves. She remembers the bullying, the freezing water being poured over her in the bathroom stalls. She remembers being labeled a murderer and the entire world turning against her. The crushing realization hits her, even if she escapes Ren, where would she actually go? Ren is the only one who saved her from that hell, the only one who stayed by her side. She thinks of the way Ren has cared for her in her own twisted, possessive way. Even when they sleep together, it's a cage made of silk that Wanshu doesn't know how to leave. Back at the counter, Wanshu breaks down, clutching her head in pure agony. She collapses to the floor, the weight of her reality finally breaking her spirit. She's sobbing now, a broken shell of the girl she used to be. She looks at her bandaged finger, a permanent reminder of the price she pays for defiance. The waiter rushes over, looking concerned and asking if she's okay. But when the woman tries to help, Wanshu recoils in terror. Don't touch me, she screams, her voice cracking with pure panic. She cowers as Ren approaches, the shadow of her captor looming over her once again. Ren calmly asks if she's feeling unwell, but her eyes say something much darker. She leans in, whispering a challenge that chills Wanshu to the bone. Don't be such a scaredy cat, run. Go ahead and run, Ren dares her, a wicked triumphant smile playing on her lips. Wanshu is frozen, the trap closing in around her heart. Ren tells her it's a wonderful opportunity, all she has to do is cry out and all eyes will be on them. Wanshu looks at the oblivious people nearby, but the fear of Ren is far greater than her desire for freedom. Ren cups her face, her touch both gentle and suffocating. Why are you hesitating? She asks softly. She takes Wanshu's injured hand, asking if she hates her for what she's done. Just run away from me, then you'll be free, quick, shout it out. Ren commands, mocking her. But the fragments of Wanshu's mind are already shattered beyond repair. She looks at the broken pieces of her life and realizes the terrifying truth. She can't lose Ren. She can't leave her. She can't escape her. As long as she doesn't fight, as long as she obeys, maybe she can survive this. She feels herself falling into the abyss, the metaphorical chains tightening around her neck. Then perhaps she will love me, she thinks, finally surrendering her entire will. She reaches out, taking Ren's hand voluntarily this time. Their fingers interlock, a silent pact of total submission. Ren looks at her, her expression unreadable as she holds Wanshu's hands close to her heart. Do you know how I feel towards you? Ren asks, her voice dropping to a low, intimate tone. Wanshu looks up, her eyes wide with a mix of hope and horror. I have never fallen for anyone in my life, Ren confesses, but you are the exception. You make my world stop with every move, she adds, sounding almost sincere. Do you really mean it? Wanshu asks, desperate for any scrap of affection to justify her imprisonment. Ren just tilts her head, her gaze piercing. Other than me, would there be anyone else? As the sun sets and the city lights flicker on, the twisted bond between them is sealed in the darkness. But meanwhile, across town, another girl is finally putting the pieces together. She realizes Ren Pingsheng kidnapped Wanshu and has been lying to everyone this whole time. She checks her phone and sees a notification from a mysterious writer named Mr. Pai Sai-ki. The newest update describes an unconscious girl handcuffed to a desk, her last day on Earth fast approaching. The girl's eyes go wide as she reads the gruesome details on her screen. The plot is exactly the same as how Huang Kaiyan was murdered. She gasps, realizing that Ren's psychological games are far more lethal than anyone ever imagined. What's going on? She cries out in a panic, waking up only to find her hands cruelly handcuffed. She twists her wrists until they bleed, but she can't break free, screaming into the darkness, "Who are you?" A mysterious man stands over her, casually resting a baseball bat on his shoulder as he mutters a chilling HM. He looks down with cold eyes and says, "Good evening, Miss Huang. Are you surprised to see me?" Before she can even process the horror, he slams his hand onto the desk with a deafening bang, looming over her like a predator. It looks like a scene straight out of a nightmare as he carries her limp body through a flurry of falling petals. Back in reality, our girl Bai is leaning against a wall, coughing her lungs out as the weight of the situation hits her. She realizes with a shudder that the murder weapon and the M.O. are exactly like how Huang Kaiyan died. Jiang Wanshu, she has to know something, she mutters, checking her phone and seeing the latest upload time for the novel. She's sitting on the curb, desperate for answers, and decides to message her contact for help. Could you help me locate this writer using their IP address? She asks. Her hacker friend is skeptical, wondering what on earth she's gotten herself into this time. As she waits for the results, our poor heroine is spiraling, wondering what the connection is between Jiang Wanshu and Ren Pingsheng. Are they accomplices? She wonders, noting that the murders used to happen after the novel was posted, but now the order has reversed. Suddenly, her phone dings. The IP address is a mobile port and the location is being updated in real time. Her friend warns her that it's too dangerous to go alone, but our girl is determined. I'll be careful, don't worry, she types back as she starts walking toward the source. Meanwhile, back at the lion's den, Ren Pingsheng is being disturbingly domestic, drying Jiang Wanshu's hair with a blow dryer. They move to the computer where Jiang asks, "What are we doing?" Ren leans in close, her voice a low purr as she replies, "Continuing to write the novel, of course." Ren whispers a better idea into her ear, telling her to type while she dictates. "Let's start with the title," Ren says, leaning over her shoulder. She decides on a name that sends chills down the spine. The final chapter, The Death of Pai Sai Ki. Our girl finally arrives at the destination, but her heart drops when she realizes where she is. "Wait, isn't this Jiang Wanshu's house?" she gasps. She cautiously approaches the door, calling out, "Jiang Wanshu, are you there?" To her surprise, the door is unlocked, and she slowly creeps inside the silent apartment. The place is empty, but she can feel that someone was just here. She spots a laptop left open on the desk, and her eyes widen when she sees the novel's update page. Could this be it automatically updated? She wonders, realize the trap might have already been set. Looking around the room, she finds a photo of a young Wanshu smiling brightly with her mother. She starts digging through a drawer and finds a hidden notebook. Inside are more photos of Wanshu as a child, looking happy and loved. "That's weird, I thought she lived with her dad. Why is there a picture of her with her mom?" she asks herself, quickly snapping photos of the evidence to send to her hacker friend. She starts reading the diary entries, and the contents are heartbreaking. Wanshu writes about how much she misses her mom and how her father is a monster who hits and yells at her. But then our girl flips to a page that makes her jaw hit the floor. "I think I'm in love with my substitute teacher," Ren Pingsheng, the entry reads. Bai is absolutely stunned, her eyes nearly popping out of her head as she reads about their secret relationship. The diary entries get even more intense, with Wanshu gushing, she kissed me, she kissed me." Our girl is reeling, realizing Wanshu was willing to follow Ren 10,000 miles away just to be with her. "Oh my god," she gasps, covering her mouth in shock as she reads about Wanshu's total devotion. Suddenly, her phone rings and her hacker friend has some grim news. It turns out Wanshu's mom died a long time ago, and while the dad was the primary suspect, he was acquitted because of an alibi. Our girl realizes the depth of the trauma Jiang Wanshu has been hiding. Looking at the old photos one last time, she whispers, she must really hate her father. "Sometimes I ask myself, what is the point of being kind-hearted?" Our girl sits alone in the dark, lighting a single candle on a small cake with a look of pure hollow exhaustion. As the flame flickers in her eyes, she can't help but spiral back into the memories that broke her. She remembers coming home as a little girl, calling out for her mama with a smile. Her mom was always so warm, praising her for coming home safely and promising to make her favorite meal. "How was school today?" her mom would ask with so much love. Our poor heroine would lie through her teeth, saying school was great even though we see the truth. She was being bullied and shoved to the ground every single day. She just wanted to be the good girl her mother expected. "Everyone was nice to me, mama," she'd say, hiding the bruises on her soul. But being nice doesn't protect you from monsters. Her mother's lessons on kindness were shattered by the sound of her father demanding money. When her mother refused, saying she needed to take care of Wanshu, that absolute excuse of a man lost it. Little Wanshu watched in horror as her father brutally attacked her mother right in front of her. She tried to intervene, screaming for him to stop, but he just grabbed her by the collar and threw her out of the room like trash. He slammed the door, leaving her to listen to her mother's screams while he threatened to hit her next. She sobbed against that door, begging for her mama, wondering why being kind-hearted wasn't making anything better. When the house finally went silent, she wandered through the empty rooms calling out, but her mother was gone. She searched the kitchen and the bedroom, but there was only cold silence. She eventually found her father at a gambling den, looking completely unbothered. "Where's mama?" she asked, but he just told her to stop disrupting his game because he was all in. He had money now, and once she realized with a sinking heart exactly where that money came from. She ran into the night, screaming for the only person who ever loved her. She remembered her mother's final embrace, being told to always stay kind and never hurt anyone. But that kindness led to a cold hospital bed. "This isn't my mama's body," she screamed at the police, refusing to believe the DNA results. She broke down, wailing that they were all lying. "I did everything you asked of me, why did this happen?" she cried over the lifeless body. Back in the present, the candle flickers out, leaving her in the same darkness that has followed her since that day. She stares at the smoke, wondering if there was ever really a point to being good. Suddenly, a voice cuts through her thoughts, reminding her of a dark command. "Call it the death of Paysake." Adult Wanshu looks up, the trauma of the past bleeding into her current nightmare. She confronts Ren Pingsheng, demanding to know why she's being forced to write such a horrific ending. "Why are you forcing me to do this?" she screams, her voice cracking with desperation. She grabs Pingsheng's shirt, tears streaming down her face as she asks the question that terrifies her most. "Are you going to leave me too?" She begs Pingsheng to say something to give her some sign of hope. But Pingsheng is cold, reminding Wanshu that she used to wish for this man's death. "He doesn't deserve to live in this world," Pingsheng says calmly. Wanshu tries to argue that this is different, but Pingsheng isn't having it. She takes Wanshu's bandaged hand and guides it toward the laptop, whispering that she's just helping her make her wishes come true. Come on and write, listen to me, she commands. No, Wanshu screams, jumping back from the desk. She refuses to be a part of this cycle of death. But Pingsheng's gaze is chilling. So you want to disobey me, she asks. Wanshu clenches her fist, declaring that no matter what happens, she will never write it. I don't want you to die, she cries out. Pingsheng actually smiles at that. You think I'll die like him? She mocks. Wanshu is a mess of sobs, begging Pingsheng not to make her fall in love, just to abandon her. Pingsheng holds her face, telling her that if she wants her to live, she must promise one thing. She lectures Wanshu on the morality of writing, saying that giving a character a meaningless death is the act of a real killer. She tells Wanshu that her novel was the only thing that gave her the will to live. Right, finish it, she whispers, pushing Wanshu to the brink. Wanshu is trapped, sobbing as she finally begins to type the words she hates. Miles away, another woman is startled by a sudden ding from her computer. She looks at her screen in confusion, only to see the cursor moving on its own. It's typing the death of Pasek right before her eyes. She screams, hitting the keys, but nothing stops the ghost in the machine. She watches in horror as the story writes itself, detailing an artistic murder and a soul being smoothed out by flowers. As she stares at the screen, the terrifying realization hits her. Is Ren Pingsheng's next victim herself? A mysterious man stands before a boarded-up window, whispering to the shadows that after all this time, it's finally time for the end. He looks down at a photograph in his hands, his eyes glazed with a terrifying obsession. Such a bright poppy is a perfect match for you, he murmurs, calling the girl in the photo the absolute masterpiece of his life. He's completely lost in his own delusions, practically worshipping the image of our heroine as if she were a saint and he her most devoted, twisted follower. He looks absolutely unhinged as he claims she is the most perfect thing he's ever seen. In a chilling display of affection, he presses his lips to the photo, sealing a vow that can only lead to disaster. He sheds his jacket, revealing a sleek black outfit as he reaches for a heavy canister of gasoline. Without a second thought, he lifts the jug and drenches himself, the fuel cascading over his hair and clothes in a waterfall of death. He stands there soaking wet and smelling of chemicals, a faint eerie smile playing on his lips. But his peace is short-lived as the sound of heavy boots thunders through the hallway. Surround the area, the SWAT team commands, their weapons drawn as they swarm the building. They frantically search for an entrance, but the main door is locked tight. They scream for him to open up, but he doesn't move a muscle. Instead, he calmly pours the remaining gasoline across the floor, ensuring there's no way out for anyone. Officer Zhang, you sure did make it, he taunts, his voice echoing through the barricaded door. He leans against a desk, looking bored as he tells the police they'll never have the chance to bring him to justice. As the officers prepare to smash the door down, he pulls out a silver lighter, the small flame dancing in the dim light. He looks directly at the lens with a smug, game-over expression. It's delightful, he sighs, though he admits he's getting a bit tired of this little play. Through the wooden slats of the door, the police can only watch in horror as he thanks Officer Zhang for taking care of him. Stop, they scream, but it's too late. He flicks the lighter into the air. The moment it hits the floor, the room erupts into a violent inferno. The officers are forced back by the sheer heat, their faces twisted in despair as they realize they've lost their target. Even as the flames lick at his skin, he stares them down, a haunting laugh escaping his throat. The fire is a monster, spreading through the vents and sewers to the rest of the school. Withdraw quickly, get out of here, the commander yells, fearing a massive explosion. They call for fire trucks, but the building is already a funeral pyre. The man stands in the center of the chaos, his silhouette framed by the roaring orange light as he finally finds the freedom he was looking for. The entire structure is swallowed by smoke and ash, leaving nothing behind. Suddenly, the perspective shifts. We aren't at a school, we're looking at a laptop screen. Our girl is the one typing these words, her fingers bandaged as she finishes the dark chapter. Will that be enough? She asks softly, turning to the woman standing behind her. This is the legendary Ren Pingsheng, who leans in close, her long hair brushing against our heroine's shoulder. Without a word, Ren grabs her chin and pulls her into a deep, lingering kiss. Our girl is left breathless and blushing, her heart racing as Ren pulls back with a satisfied smirk. Yes, Ren whispers, it's very well written. She gently tucks a strand of hair behind our girl's ear, noticing how exhausted she looks after pouring her soul into the manuscript. Ren decides it's time for a break and promises to make her a late-night snack to keep her strength up. They share a tender domestic moment, a stark contrast to the violent story on the screen. As Ren heads to the kitchen to boil a pot of noodles, our heroine watches her with a look of pure longing. It would be nice if there could be more days like this, she thinks, her eyes filled with a sadness she can't quite hide. Ren returns and begins to gently feed her, treating her like something precious and fragile. But as she eats, our girl is hit by a sudden, painful memory of a woman named Wanshu feeding a child in a much happier time. The grief catches her off guard and tears begin to stream down her face. Can you not leave me? She sobs, clutching at her chest. She begs Ren for a promise that they will always be together. Ren's expression turns solemn as she admits there are things she has to put an end to. This sends our girl into a panic. I don't want an ending, I only want you, she screams, burying her face in Ren's shirt. She clings to Ren as if she's the only anchor in a storm, terrified of the silence that follows. Eventually, she cries herself to sleep and Ren lays her down, whispering a final, haunting promise. You won't lose me. But when our girl wakes up and looks back at her laptop, her blood runs cold. She sees the date she wrote into the novel and realizes with a jolt of terror that it's today's date. The fictional school, the fictional fire, it wasn't just a story. It was a premonition of what Ren is planning to do tonight at Huanyang University. She realizes the novel was a cover-up for a very real, very deadly plan. Trembling, she sends a desperate text to a friend. If I don't answer in 2 hours, call the police and have them come to Huanyang University to catch the serial killer. She leaves the laptop behind, the cursor blinking next to the word end, as she races out to stop the woman she loves from becoming the monster she just wrote about. Bai Kai sprints toward the building, her breath hitching in the cold night. She desperately checks her phone, but her heart sinks as the screen remains black. Come on, the battery is dead, why should it be this time? She cries out, stumbling into the security office. Inside, the scene is a nightmare. The guards are slumped over, completely unresponsive. Hey, are you okay? Wake up, she pleads, shaking one of them, but they're out cold. She looks up at the security monitors, her eyes widening in horror. There on the grainy screen is the woman she's been hunting, or perhaps the woman who's been hunting her. Is that? She gasps, her mind racing to find a way to call for help. Realizing she's truly alone, she lets out a frustrated geez and bolts from the room. As she runs, a chilling thought takes root. Everything that's happened feels like it was perfectly arranged. Could it be Ren Pingsheng predicted all my thoughts? She wonders, though she tries to deny the terrifying possibility. She charges up the stairs, her footsteps echoing in the empty stairwell. Suddenly, a sharp, pungent odor stops her in her tracks. Smell of gasoline, she gasps, her blood turning to ice. She rounds the corner into the hallway, her eyes searching the shadows. Pushing open the heavy doors to a classroom, she wonders if Ren is actually going to follow the dark plot of the novel to the very end. In the dim light, she sees a silhouette standing by the window. Ren Pingsheng turns slowly, a hauntingly calm expression on her face. Reporter Bai, you're finally here, she says, her voice smooth as silk. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Bai Kai's voice trembles with rage and fear. Ren Pingsheng, what the hell do you want? She screams. She looks down and realizes she's standing right in the middle of a massive puddle of gasoline. The liquid shimmers ominously on the floor, leading straight to the woman in black. What the hell do you want to do? Bai Kai demands, her voice cracking. She lashes out, calling Ren a coward and asking if she thinks dying like this makes her special. Ren doesn't get angry, instead she begins to clap slowly. Very well said, keep going, keep going. She mocks, Bai Kai doesn't back down. Who do you think you are, a messenger of justice? You think killing some scumbags makes you a hero? Ren just stares at her with those cold, piercing eyes. It seems like you also think they're scums. Ren muses, her tone almost playful. Bai Kai steps forward, shouting that Ren is a murderer no matter how she tries to justify it. She accuses Ren of hurting Wanshu instead of saving her, trying to force the girl to become a monster just like her. Ren doesn't even blink. Indeed, she admits with a terrifying lack of remorse. Ren leans back against a desk, looking bored. Since I am so heinous, it's better to be like this. Why don't you just kill me? She challenges. Bai Kai stands frozen, unable to process the request. Kill me, Ren repeats, pointing to a lighter sitting on the desk. The lighter on your left, if you light it, I have nowhere to escape. She paints a picture of the next day's headlines, calling Bai Kai a civilian hero who finally brought a serial killer to justice. Bai Kai's hand trembles as she looks at the lighter. She stammers, her resolve crumbling. Ren scoffs and lights a cigarette instead. This whole time you wanted justice to punish me, so it seems that your hatred for me is just the hatred given to you by morality, by the law, Ren says, exhaling a cloud of smoke. She mocks Bai Kai for not having the guts to actually do the deed herself while claiming to seek justice every day. No, that's not true, you deserve to be punished by law. Bai Kai screams, her fists clench so hard her knuckles turn white. She tries to maintain her moral high ground, vowing to put Ren in jail anyway. But Ren is relentless, leaning in close to ask if Bai Kai has ever actually gotten her hands dirty. Or do you want to catch me just to make up for the mistakes you did? Ren asks, hitting a nerve that makes Bai Kai's heart skip a beat. As smoke fills the room, Ren leans in with a wicked glint in her eyes. You know what, let me tell you a story you'll definitely be interested in. The scene shifts, pulling us back into the past. We see a younger Bai Kai wearing a school monitor's armband and looking far more innocent. She walks the halls of her old school, overhearing the muffled sounds of a heated argument between parents behind closed doors. She walks away, her expression troubled as she descends the stairs. In the classroom, the teacher is droning on about the importance of the college entrance exam, calling it the turning point of their lives. Bai Kai's friend leans over, asking if she's finished reviewing. The girl looks exhausted, admitting how hard it is for her to keep up. Bai Kai tries to encourage her to study harder, but her friend just looks at her with a desperate, strange expression. The friend leans in and whispers a dark secret. I have a way, but you better not tell anyone. I plan to cheat in the college entrance examination. She explains that she's written all the answers on a small piece of paper. Bai Kai is stunned as the class is dismissed. Later, the girl offers Bai Kai some of her lunch, smiling brightly and acting like the kindest person in the world. Bai Kai is torn. She's going to cheat, but she's my best friend. She's so kind to me, she thinks, watching her friend laugh. They share a meal, but the weight of the secret is crushing Bai Kai. But it's not right, is it? She tells herself. Driven by her rigid sense of morality, Bai Kai finds herself standing in the quiet hallway, right in front of the teacher's office. She knocks, but hesitates at the last second. A teacher spots her and asks why she isn't in the exam room yet. Bai Kai's heart hammers against her ribs. Should I say it or not? She wonders. She convinces herself that she's doing the right thing, that she's being righteous. Teacher, I want to report a student who is cheating, she finally said. The fallout is immediate and brutal. In the middle of the exam, the teacher catches the girl red-handed. The girl is dragged out of the room, sobbing and screaming in terror as her future vanishes in an instant. For her honesty, Bai Kai is hailed as a hero. She's given a merit student certificate and awarded extra points for her own entrance exam. Her parents are beaming with pride, telling her she did a good job and has a promising future. But as they pat her on the back, Bai Kai looks utterly haunted, the praise feeling like ashes in her mouth. Back in the present, Ren Pingsheng blows a thick cloud of smoke directly into Bai Kai's face. Is the story interesting, Bai Kai? She asks with a cruel smirk. Ren reveals that she tracked down that former friend. Do you want to know what happened to her? She asks. The ending wasn't a happy one. Because of Bai Kai's report, the girl's family saw her as a disgrace and drove her out. She ended up on the streets, lost to drugs and theft, before eventually taking her own life. Bai Kai stands there shattered as the weight of her righteous past finally comes crashing down on her. The truth hits like a physical blow, and our girl Bai Kai is left reeling. She bites her lip, the weight of the words she committed suicide crushing her spirit. Then so what? She's the one who's wrong. Bai Kai screams, trying to cling to her crumbling sense of self-righteousness. Ren Pingsheng just stands there, coolly lighting a cigarette, her eyes filled with nothing but cold disdain. Bai Kai continues her desperate rant, demanding to know if she was wrong to report a cheater, but Ren isn't playing that game. I'm just stating the truth, Ren says, her voice a deadly whisper, the life of a person who died because of you. Bai Kai is sweating now, her confidence completely evaporated. She tries to pivot, babbling about logical fallacies and how she couldn't have predicted what happened next. If her family understood her, if society accepted her, how could she have chosen to leave? She shouts, as if yelling it makes it true. But Ren isn't letting her off the hook. She calls out Bai Kai's cowardice, mocking the clever reporter who refuses to admit she destroyed her best friend. Ren leans in close, revealing the ultimate knife to the heart. The friend knew Bai Kai was the one who betrayed her, yet she chose to protect Bai Kai until the very end. She died in the abyss, looking up at Bai Kai like she was a star, full of a friendship that Bai Kai never deserved. The tension is suffocating as Ren towers over her. She leans into Bai Kai's ear, asking the most haunting question possible. Have you ever seen the despair in her eyes at the end? Bai Kai is paralyzed, the reality of her justice finally sinking in. We see a flashback of the friend, a girl who just wanted to belong. Back in the present, Ren isn't finished. She mocks Bai Kai's inability to understand ordinary people, dismissing her brand of righteousness as a total sham. Ren points out that reporting bullies just leads to more retaliation, while the reporter gets to sleep with a peace of mind. Bai Kai is terrified, stammering about the age of the people Ren has killed. Ren just smiles. I never said my actions were right, she admits. I'm just solving the problem my own way. To her, bullies are just rubbish that needs to be cleared away. With a flick of her finger, Ren drops her lit cigarette. You and I are the same, Ren declares amidst the flames, hiding in the satisfaction of your own righteousness. Bai Kai loses it, screaming that she's not a murderer as she turns and bolts through the burning hallway. She runs for her life, the words I am not, echoing through the smoke. She barely makes it out, collapsing against a window, still trying to convince herself of her innocence. High above, Ren watches the chaos with a hauntingly calm expression, singing a poetic song about God knowing who truly wins and loses. Elsewhere, Jiang Wanshu wakes up from a literal nightmare, screaming Ren's name. She's in a hospital bed, her hand bandaged, and the silence of the room is terrifying. She panics, searching every inch of the apartment for any sign of the woman who saved her. When she finds the door unlocked, she realizes the truth. I'm freed, she wonders, but there's no joy in it. She has a vision of Ren standing in the fire, and the realization hits her. Ren isn't coming back. No, you liar, she screams. You said you wouldn't leave me behind. She races to the scene of the fire, where firefighters are desperately trying to control the blaze. Bai Kai is there, safe and sound, giving Ren's name to the police. Jiang Wanshu arrives barefoot, her eyes fixed on the burning building. When Bai Kai tries to stop her, Jiang Wanshu snaps, screaming for her to let go. She doesn't care if Ren set the fire or if she's trouble. You know nothing, she shrieks at Bai Kai. To Jiang Wanshu, Ren was the only person in the world who ever truly cared for her, the only one who taught her how to face life. As she tries to run into the inferno to find her, the police have to physically restrain her. She's completely hysterical, her screams for Ren Pingsheng lost in the roar of the flames and the rising smoke. Reporter Bai Kai, thank you for your hard work during the investigation, the officer says, acknowledging her role in bringing this serial killing case to its final stage. But our girl doesn't look like she's celebrating. She looks completely drained as she shakes his hand. She still has one burning question: what actually happened to the dead serial killer? The detective explains the grim reality. Since the body was completely incinerated, they couldn't use DNA to confirm the identity. However, based on the school's cameras and her previous reports, they have officially confirmed that Ren Pingsheng is the one who died. She died just like that. Bai Kai whispers, unable to process that the nightmare is finally over. The police also reveal a chilling detail. They found a teddy bear at the scene where the eyes had been replaced with hidden cameras. A girl is stunned, asking what exactly the cameras were recording. It turns out the footage was monitoring Jiang Wanshu, and further evidence from Ren Pingsheng's house proved that she had been erasing any trace of Jiang Wanshu being there. This confirmed that Jiang Wanshu wasn't a criminal, but was actually being threatened and coerced by Ren Pingsheng the entire time. As Bai Kai listens, her suspicions about her friend are finally cleared. The police found mountains of evidence in Ren Pingsheng's home that pinned all the crimes on her. The one who died in that big fire is definitely Ren Pingsheng, they reiterate. But as our girl stares into the distance, a cold sweat breaks out. She flashes back to the raging flames, wondering if that devil is truly gone for good. Reporter Bai Kai, the officer calls out, snapping her back to reality. He admits the case was beyond anyone's imagination, but the evidence is the only explanation they have. He invites her to a case briefing in 3 days and thanks her for the crucial information she provided. They even want to honor her as an excellent citizen with a police reward. Our poor heroine just looks down, feeling the weight of the past as she remembers her old school certificates. A reward, huh? She sighs, watching the rain pour down outside the station. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the rain continues to lash against the windows. Rujun is finally waking up, checking the news on his phone about the fire incident trending online. He looks pale and weak, but his eyes widen when he sees a familiar face sitting by his bed. Wanshu, is that you? He gasps, reaching out to grab her arm. She looks exhausted but relieved, telling him, yes, it's me, you're awake. She reassures him that the doctor said he'll be fine in just a couple of days. I'm glad, he whispers, his voice full of emotion. He looks at her with such concern, asking what exactly happened to her during that chaos. When he asks if she has anything she needs to tell him, she simply replies no, with a look of deep sadness. Sensing her pain, Rujun pulls her into a tight, protective hug. It doesn't matter what happened, he tells her gently. If you want to cry, then cry it all out. Held in his arms, our girl finally lets go, sobbing as the rain continues to fall outside. Time skips forward, and the atmosphere is completely different as we find ourselves in the middle of a high-profile media event. A hostess stands under the bright spotlights, announcing a special guest. Let's welcome teacher Wanshu, she shouts as our heroine walks onto the stage looking like a total queen. The audience erupts in applause as she takes the mic. She tells the crowd that time has flown by and her novel, I Am More Dangerous Than You, has finally been published. People everywhere are watching her broadcast, from fans on their phones to commuters in the city. After her speech, she heads backstage to prepare for a book signing. Suddenly, someone calls her name. It's Bai Kai. Our former reporter is looking stylish and happy, waving as she approaches. Long time no see, Bai Kai says, shaking her hand and joking that she's not a reporter anymore, so Wanshu is basically her senior now. Wanshu looks a bit uneasy, but then she notices the person standing right behind Bai Kai. The man takes off his cap and it's Rujun. He's actually wearing a police uniform. Long time no see, he says with a smile. Wanshu is shocked, asking if he's really a police officer now. He laughs, explaining he was just on duty until Bai Kai dragged him over to see her. He asks if she wants to grab a meal after she finishes her signing. Sure, but it might take a while, she says, and they promise to wait for her. As they head out to explore the exhibit, Wanshu watches them go. The crowd for the signing is massive, with lines stretching out the door. Backstage, her assistant is doing some last-minute touch-ups on her makeup. Wanshu admits she's a bit nervous, but her assistant tells her to just act casual. When the assistant gets a phone call and steps away, Wanshu is left alone for a moment. She walks out to the signing table, looking at the sea of fans waiting for her. She picks up a copy of her book, staring at the cover art of poppies. But as she looks up to greet the next person in line, her heart stops. She freezes, her eyes widening in pure terror. Standing right in front of her is a tall woman with long, dark hair that looks hauntingly familiar. Wanshu is paralyzed, staring at the figure. What? She stammers, but then she blinks and the moment passes. Nothing, it isn't her after all, she thinks, trying to calm her racing heart as she goes back to signing. But then her phone vibrates on the desk. She picks it up, her hand trembling. A new message notification pops up on the screen. It's from someone named Mr. Pasek, and it reads, "Your new book is really good, I like it."